Hello and welcome to episode 39 of the XboxEra podcast. I am Sikamikanico and I'm joined by Shpeshal Ed.
G'day.
It's finally here!
I know.
We've been talking about everything for the last 38 episodes, and whilst we were offline, Next Gen has begun.
Yes, finally. I mean, Next Gen's begun for me as the only person with a true Next Gen console on this podcast. The Sony Entertainment console, the PlayStation 5.
Are you on the right podcast? Are you? Did you not?
Got my Spider-Man T-shirt to celebrate the release of the PlayStation 5.
Did your check to Phil not clear?
No, Phil. Once Phil didn't deem Australia important enough to give stock to, that's when I made the switch to Team Blue. See?
Oh dear, guys, it's a collapse. It's a collapse from within.
Yeah. No, got my PS5. I went early on Thursday morning. EB was open nice and early, so I went and grabbed it. It's good. But, not happy seeing everyone else getting Series X's and I have to wait. I got a text update from JB Hi-Fi, which is who I got mine from.
Yeah.
And they said, good news. Like, I actually took a screenshot and posted it in the Discord and everyone just started laughing because it's like, how is it good news? You're not getting your Xbox for another month. But it was like, good news. Come and pay off your Xbox. We're expecting it December 7th. I'm like,
good God,
seriously?
that feels a very long way away.
And the irony is, like, it probably shouldn't matter. Like, all I'm going to be playing on it is Fortnite.
There's
Rocket
no games,
League.
man, is there?
I mean, even on my PlayStation 5, aside from Astro, which is amazing, by the way, aside from Astro, I'm only playing PlayStation 4 games on it. Like, I've said, I just care about the current gen boost.
Yeah.
I don't care about new games. Astro's great, but it's a free pack-in game, so awesome. And, yeah. But, so I'm only using the PlayStation 5 as a big, ugly PlayStation 4, which I've said. And, by the way, let's see. I don't want to break anything here, but I'm going to have a crack at this.
Good luck.
To give everyone an idea, anyone who's watching, I'm going to try and do this without breaking everything, but watch how monstrously big this console is. Now, let's have a look. Let's see if this works without breaking anything.
Here we go. Without breaking anything. Good Lord.
Look at that. Hold on. Where is it?
I love the Wii next to it.
Yeah. The Wii just makes it look even bigger. But, like, that thing is monstrous. Like, it is
bonkers.
Man.
How big that is.
Like, yeah, it's crazy. Like, and the box is, like, it's funny. So, I've read a lot of sentiment online about how the PlayStation 5 feels like really premium and expensive and da-da-da-da. And it does. I have to admit it does. The finish they've used on it and everything like that feels really nice. But then with the box, it's the complete opposite. The box and the way it's all been packed is all a bit cheap and nasty, and where apparently from what I've seen of the unboxing videos of the Series X, that's very premium in terms of how it's been packaged and boxed up. And
yeah, it was.
Yeah, apparently. I wouldn't know.
Well, okay. So, I mean, it's weird. I feel like there's a lot to talk about, but in terms of actual news, there isn't a lot of news. The news is Next Gen launched, and we're going to probably spend this podcast talking about what we love, what we don't love.
Any issues?
Issues that have been
Cropped
spotted out in the world.
Oh, yeah, like vaping Series X consoles as soon as he picks up his vape.
Do you know what? It's actually... I mean, let's go down that tangent. So
where do we start?
I know, right? So let's go
actually,
down.
You know what? Let's start a bit more old school.
Okay, go on.
What have we been playing?
Wow. Do you know what? I'm gonna take this one. I'm gonna give you some interesting factoids about what I've been playing. So obviously, I got a review kit for Series S, so I got to play a lot of games beforehand. But here's where things get interesting. So although I got a code for Assassin's Creed. It was the Series X optimized version, which didn't release until the 10th, so it wouldn't work on my machine. And Ubisoft, for some reason, although their press team are like, yeah, we'll get to you when we can, they're being sent out in batches. Batches to them means also on launch day. So we need to work, Ubisoft, we need to work on this. Give us code a little earlier so we can write stuff. But
I thought the whole point of smart delivery was that you should get the S version.
I think the S, well, yes, you should. But I think that the simple fact was that optimized version was coming in hot, like so much software and hardware. It just wasn't available to play until launch day. But it worked flawlessly. Launch day, I switched to New Zealand and everything was gravy.
Yeah.
So I've been playing a bunch of different games. So I'm going to cherry pick my favourites thus far. So one, I've loved revisiting older games just to see how they perform.
Yeah, I know.
The biggest hot ticket was a really great session of Sea of Thieves last night. 60 FPS is flawless and it's locked. And if you've been playing on an Xbox One S or even on the Xbox One X, like 30 FPS was horrific and horrible, and I hated it. And now I don't think, there's two different sides. Like, I love playing Sea of Thieves on my PC because it supports the stupidly wide resolution. And I'll gladly do that. And its performance, I can get about 90 FPS on that, so it's nice and smooth. But 4K HDR native at 60 was just chef's kiss. It just makes so. I took a bunch of screenshots last night. I was just like, it's like playing it all over again. It was kind of like just really nice. And we've been ragging on a friend of ours who's like, I don't need to buy a console, guys. I've got a PC now. And it's like, yeah, but we keep getting matched against PC players, and it's usually a CSGO player on his weekend off who just dominates us because we're all playing on pad, even though we're playing on PC, and it's just not fun. So just to own console noobs, we want him to buy a console just so we could do it. He won't do it. So that was really cool. I've been blown away by how much I'm enjoying Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I haven't completed, and I've bounced off every Assassin's Creed since Black Flag because I find
much.
Anything assassin-y, like the Black Flag, the thing that kept me coming and playing was all the naval stuff. I just loved it. Hence why I love Ciao.
See, I don't like that.
But I hated all the, I've got to go here and there's an Apple of Eden or a Garden of Hujum or what's it, and boring. Whereas I think the closest thing I could liken, and people might kill me for this because I bounced off of Red Dead Redemption 2 for a very similar reason. Beautiful game, technically stunning, blah, 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 blah. Red Dead is obviously the more technically stunning title, even now, even though this is a next-gen title. It looks, all the animations, the art, blah, blah, blah. But Assassin's Creed knows it's a game and is happy to let you play it as a game. So there's 60 FPS. It looks gorgeous at times. There's some jankiness. It's a big open world game, as to be expected. But it's just little things like, I'm hunting, I've killed it. I can just, as I'm riding by, I press Y, and I don't have to go through a 12-minute skinning of an animal animation. I just get the stuff and I carry on. And it made me laugh because I have a bit of an OCD thing when it comes to this stuff, and I'm like, I'm not going to move on until I've done everything in this area, then I'll go to the next place. And you start off in Norway, and eventually you obviously go over to England. And you're meant to just hammer through this and go to England, probably within like the first 2 hours. I spent like 12 hours or more in Norway getting every little bit of thing I could that was at my level. And then I went to England and it rolled the credits, like, welcome to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I was like, probably should have done that a bit sooner, guys. Like, Jesus. But it's good. It's really, really good. And Falconeers, I've dipped my toes in. I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into that, but I'm waiting to complete the campaign. The Touryst, pretty cool. Very, very funky. My kids loved it. Watch Dogs Legions I've played some of. That's very much an Ubisoft cookie cutter open world game. Even though I love London, I don't see myself really enjoying that too much. It's not my jam. But yeah,
there's been a burst of London, hasn't there? Forza Horizon.
Yep.
Modern Warfare had a fair bit of London in it. It seems Valhalla has some. Watch Dogs Legion. Yeah, there's a bit of a I know there was a Greece phase for a while. Now it seems there's a London phase. Hey, maybe Forza Horizon 5 can go to Greece.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting.
It would be. I think that or Japan would be really cool.
Well, we have Assassin's Creed Japan in Ghost of Tsushima, really.
Yeah, I suppose that is pretty much what
Sony already did it. Like, I feel like they've stolen
the thunder.
Yubi's thunder.
Yeah.
Because now, why would anyone really worry about an AC Japan when Ghost exists?
Yeah.
From everything I've seen, I haven't played it yet, although apparently the improvements on PS5 are quite good, so it's tempting. But everything I've seen of it literally just looks like Assassin's Creed Feudal Japan.
To me. I think that's
down
fair.
to even the indicators of where the enemies are, like the whole lot, like everything. It just looks.
You haven't played it though, right?
No.
No, I haven't either. But that's the thing. I see open world, and I'm just like, well, I just switch off. My brain just goes, I can't. I just can't.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm surprised Assassin's Creed has really nabbed me and made me want to constantly like, oh, I'll get up while the kids are asleep still and play a little bit more before they all go to bed. But yeah, what about what Series X and S exclusives have you been playing?
Well, I reviewed the Falconeer, so I played the Falconeer. Falconeer's really good. We gave it an 8 out of 10. Yep. It's a good game. There's a lot of games now I'm holding off on because I want to play them again. Like, I've still got to go back and get achievements in Ori, for example, but I want to do that at 4K 120 or whatever it is, or downsampled 6K 60 or
that's bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah, whatever the case may be. Like, so I want to go. There's so much I want to go back to. I want to do Forza at 4K 60, Forza Horizon 4. I want to do all of that stuff, so I'm holding off. But new stuff. Falconeer did the review. Tetris Effect, reviewed that. My God, what a game. Like, seriously. We gave it a 9.5. Really had to hold back from giving it a 10.
Yeah,
like,
you didn't want to just throw a 10 out there.
Yeah, the game is unbelievable. Like, I said in the review, I started playing it. I was mesmerized. I called my wife in. I said, come in and have a look at Tetris. Like, she likes Tetris anyway, but I was like, come in and have a look at this version of Tetris. So she walked in with that whole attitude of, okay, I'll come in for like 2 seconds and watch you play.
I'll indulge you.
Yeah, no worries. And then she stayed for the entire journey playthrough. And she was like, I need to play this. And then she took the headphones off me so she could listen to it. And it's unbelievable. It's such a good game.
It's a funny. Now I'm going to lose a lot of gamer cred for this. So I open my heart willingly to you all here. Please don't judge me too harshly. I've played Tetris, as in I've I've played Tetris. I've never really played Tetris, but yeah, I got Tetris Effect, and I've completed Journey Mode.
Yeah, so did I.
Only at the end of Journey Mode did I realise the effect part of the title, where you hold down the right trigger and you can clear more than 4 lines.
Where you hold down the right trigger and you can... Oh, yeah. No, yeah, that's right. That's the slowdown. That's that slowdown mode.
Totally played through the entire Journey Mode without...
But you don't need it. I hardly ever used it. It
just made me laugh that I just didn't notice it. I think it's been badly telegraphed.
The zone.
Yeah, the zone.
Zone.
I spoke to a friend of mine because he pinged me on WhatsApp, and we've always got a little bit of a leaderboard battle. Geometry Wars 2 was a brutal era for us. Yeah. And he pinged me and he said, Tetris Effect's done, expert mode, time to start the leaderboards. I was like, expert mode, mate, I can't even complete the first level. I just can't. I don't know.
I played on easy. I
played on normal, and he said, I've been playing Tetris for years. He just smashed it through. But yeah, it's I was surprised at how addicted I was to it. I was just like, just one more go.
It's so good. Like, and what was I going to say about it? The music, the music's unbelievable. Like, I'm a big house fan, a big electronic music fan, so the music was just unbelievable. And then after, I don't know if this enters into spoiler territory. It's Tetris.
It's Tetris.
But like, when you beat the journey, you then unlock that mode, the visualizer basically.
Yeah.
Which is just the backgrounds without the thing, and you can just make the backgrounds go crazy and loopy. It's awesome. Yeah. But I mean, I've always been a Tetris fan. Had it on the Game Boy, and I've bought most versions. Like my all-time favorite version of Tetris was Tetris DS, obviously on the Nintendo DS.
Yeah,
brilliant version of Tetris. Tetris 99 came along, and that almost took the crown.
That's the Battle Royale Tetris, right?
Sorry?
That's the Battle Royale Tetris for Switch, right?
Yeah, on Switch. But it's still got traditional modes in it as well. That's the beauty of it. And then Tetris Effect has come along now and just like it's blown them both away. Like it's easily the best version of Tetris out there, by a mile.
The audio and the visual, like when you're rotating the blocks and as they come down and it hits like percussion notes.
Yeah.
It really reminds me, if you've not played it, I don't think it's on console, strangely, but it's on Game Pass for PC, which is Ape Out. You play a gorilla that's escaped from prison, but everything you do is done to jazz, and it's
the
great.
Percussion and stuff, it's great.
It's so clever.
Ape Out was pretty fun. I got that via Epic, the Epic store, which is good.
Yeah.
Like you, I started the Touryst. Really cool little game. One of my favorite developers, Shinen. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Shinen. They're like unofficially a Nintendo second-party developer. Unofficially.
Yeah.
Like these guys have openly begged Nintendo to buy them, and because they want to be a Nintendo first-party studio. Probably, in my opinion, the most technically competent studio out there.
It's a very pretty game.
Yeah, but even the stuff they were doing on the Wii U and the Wii and the Switch, like just unbelievable stuff. Like that game is like Ori. It runs at like 6K, I think, and it downsamples or something like that. And it's gorgeous game, the Touryst. Really, really chill game. I had a bit of a laugh. I went to the nightclub on the beach.
Yeah.
And you press X to dance, and he's just like, it's quite funny. And then you got to get the party meter up. And,
it's great. It's just lovely little nods and little details in there that I thought really worked well.
It's a good little game, the Touryst. I want to keep going back to that one. And what else? Of course, on the PlayStation 5, Astrobot. Obviously, I'm duty bound and not allowed to review it for XboxEra, but if I was gonna review it, it would be minimum an 8.5, if not a 9 out of 10. It's like, I never thought I'd find a game like my son is obsessed with Mario Odyssey and has been, for the better part of a year or two.
Yeah.
But I never thought, I bought the Mario 3D All-Stars collection hoping that would get him off Odyssey. No. Super Lucky's Tale came close. New Super Lucky's Tale, that came close to taking him off Odyssey, not quite. So I thought, I'm never going to find a game that's going to take him off Odyssey unless Odyssey 2 comes out. But no, Astrobot has ripped him right off Odyssey. He absolutely adores it. Like, he can't get enough of it. Like,
it's been universally praised across the board.
Oh, I reckon it's probably the best game at the launch. Like, it's one of the most. It's hard to explain. It's one of those things. A lot of old school gamers, especially, will get this. But it's just super tight and polished.
Yeah, it knows exactly what it is.
It's almost like it's almost handcrafted. Like the way that the haptics are used absolutely brilliantly. Like they implement, and this is one of those things. There's been a lot of debate about the haptics and did Microsoft screw up not having haptics and all that in their controller. I've always said the haptics are cool if it gets used.
Yeah,
like. It would be a real shame if for the rest of the generation, Astro's Playroom is the only time we see the haptics being used properly.
Yeah.
And that's my worry. Because don't forget, the Nintendo Switch has them. And no one uses them.
The Xbox One had impulse triggers.
Yeah. And no one used it. Always the first parties use it at the start, and then that's it. So 1-2 Switch uses the haptics magically. And then no other game uses them as well as that.
Yeah.
The rumble triggers, the impulse triggers, whatever on Xbox, Forza uses them brilliantly, and no other games use them.
Yeah.
So I worry that with Astrobot, that's going to be the only game that uses the haptics that way. Like I played Fortnite, the PS5 version of Fortnite, because the PS4 version isn't backwards compatible with the PS5. you have to download the specific PS5 version. And the haptics in that, the adaptive triggers annoyed the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where you hear it described and you're like, oh man, that's cool. So the guns feel different and it fights against you. Guess what? When you're in a firefight in Fortnite, you don't want the triggers fighting against you.
No.
You just want to be able to shoot people real fast.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sitting there and I'm pressing the trigger and I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, why aren't I shooting? And then I realized I had to full on press hard to get it to shoot. I'm like, I don't want to do this. This isn't what I want to do.
I've turned, like, Halo is probably the biggest FPS shooter I play from a multiplayer perspective, and ever since 3, I've turned Rumble off on the pad. Like, nothing gets in the way of my aim.
I can't turn it off.
Yeah, I can't
turn it off. Like, I need Rumble.
Nah.
But the adaptive triggers, like I've gone into my PlayStation settings and set them to weak.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try Fortnite again with it on weak. But the first time I tried it, I was like, why? I thought I had a broken controller. I'm like, why can't I press this trigger? And then I realized what it was doing. It was trying to simulate the feeling of that rifle. And I'm like, nah, man, that's not fun. Like, you need to be able to shoot quick. Like, I don't want to have to fight against the trigger. And then I started thinking to myself, are we going to have a situation where there's some sort of temporary glitch and all of a sudden someone breaks that spring or that motor in that trigger?
You got to wonder, the pad is the most used component. You stick a bunch of tiny little springs, motors. How long are they going to last if you've got someone really hammering through the tension?
I don't know.
But then you figure it's got to be designed to withstand that kind of punishment, right? That's the first challenge.
You'd assume Sony do similar testing to what Microsoft did. Like, you've seen those videos that Microsoft shows off of, look, they stick it in the machine and the robot pokes and prods it and twists the sticks around and
it goes
a million of these an hour and they belt it. So you'd like to believe Sony tests theirs in a similar fashion. But yeah, what else? Astrobot. I think that's it. So I guess we can talk about the consoles then.
Yeah. I mean, I know you touched on the PS5 at the beginning there. It's definitely large.
Yeah, it's a really giant console. I took photos and posted them on Twitter and stuff like that. Like, we knew it was large, but man, once you see it in person, it's like you really get an appreciation for just how ridiculously giant it is. But my experience so far has been mixed because, I mean, anyone who follows me on Twitter or anyone in the Discord, even on Reset, man, I've had some issues. So, I started it up and almost straight away, database error. System needs to be rebuilt. I'm like, okay.
All right.
Fair enough. So it just did it. And then, all right.
Sorry, I haven't had a PlayStation this gen. What is this?
It's something that the PS4 did as well. It's a random corruption error, and it talks about needing to rebuild a database. A lot of people actually do it on PS4 as a way to try and clear the cache or fix it, kind of thing. Okay. So Xbox has its hard reset.
Yeah.
Fixes everything. PlayStation has its rebuild database that kind of fixes stuff. But on the PS5, and I know there was a couple of reviewers that were having that issue and all that sort of stuff. So I had my rebuild database. I'm like, okay, that's weird, whatever. Kept setting it up, mucking around with it. Rebuild database. I'm like, okay, this is weird. Started downloading some games. Rebuild database. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I'm like, there's something weird. So I ended up, because the PlayStation keeps an error log.
Yeah.
Of any time you've had an error. And within the first day, I had something like 11 or 12 of those database errors. I'm like, man, there's something weird. Aside from the database errors, it was fine. I'm like, everything else was okay. And then the database errors started creeping into gameplay. It happened a couple of times during Astro's Playroom.
Really?
And I was like, oh, no. Yeah. And it wasn't as, it restarts, but it takes you right back where you were, though, which I guess was okay. So I'm like, I wanted to avoid doing a factory reset because I had downloaded so much. Mind you, I read a lot of posts on Resetera. 667 gigs, fine. That's going to last most people ages. Nah, it's not. No, it's not. I don't have Call of Duty. I don't have GTA. I don't have any of the massive games. I filled up that hard drive, that SSD, in a day.
Yeah. So
it's not enough.
And I've read as well that currently you cannot store PS5 titles on external storage.
On an external.
Like you can with the Series X.
I think they're working on it. I think they're working on an update to allow it. But I'm sorry, like everyone's like, oh, but we've known this since March. Exactly. They've had like 8 months to like prep this, and they've had 8 months to find at least one approved SSD that you can stick inside the console, and they still haven't. 667, I think anyone making excuses, you can get stuffed. 667 is not enough. No one is going to last beyond the first week or two with 667.
Well, you think about those Xbox Series S users out there. So
but at least they've got expansion options.
True, but the expansion options do cost a lot of money. At least for the proper expansion in terms of the SSD. I did perform an experiment though. So in my house, I've got my Series X, which is in front of me here. And then down in the lounge, I've got the Series S, which I said straight from the beginning, I was like, that's going to be the kids' console. I've only got a 1080p set down there. It's like a 65-inch monster, and it's fine. It'll do. It's not got HDR or any of the bells and whistles of modern TVs. But it's great for the kids and everything else. And when I was going through the review program, obviously I was having to sort of chop and change a bunch of stuff because it's very small. You download a couple of big titles and you're running out of room. And I think I managed to fit 11 games on there of fairly large size, your AAA fare. Not too bad. But downstairs I was like, well, I've got the 1 terabyte storage card. And I was like, well, okay, I'm going to put all of my mature titles, all the grown-up games, on that and on the actual X itself. And if I want to play them downstairs, if the kids are in bed, I can just plug my memory card in. And it works flawlessly. And now the S is full of back compat games and kids games and titles, and obviously they're all generally smaller. I've got like 40 games on the damn thing. And it's still got room.
It's gross.
Right? So it really just depends on what you're buying the S for. And there are size title differences. And can we talk about this for a second? Right? This is just for size comparison. That's a Samsung S10 Plus.
Yeah.
That is the memory card. It is.
It's so tiny.
It gives me real PS1 vibes.
Yeah.
I'd hate to lose this because this was stupid
expensive
money.
as
I am feeling
360
serious,
Australian.
That's mad. Serious buyer's remorse from getting this, but it is very, very cool that you can just go, everything comes to life.
Yeah, that's right.
Yank it, and people saying, "Oh, it's hot." I've been playing Valhalla
of course it's hot
for most of the day. It's warm.
Yeah, but hold on. Anyone who has used the Samsung or SanDisk Ultra Fit USB, those things burn. Like, you can't touch them. Like, and that's what happens because that's the sacrifice for it being so small.
Yeah.
Like, you can't sit there and demand your stuff be tiny and then complain if it gets hot. Like, that's just how it works.
It's funny.
But
a bunch of my friends were talking about this on WhatsApp today. And then someone said, "Oh yeah, it's really pricey." And, "Oh, it's disgusting. The price gouging, blah 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 blah." I was like,
"Yeah, but the thing is,
it's teeny."
It's funny. After the price got announced, I jumped onto a few websites in Australia to check out the price of 1 terabyte micro SD cards. Mm-hmm. Guess what? About the same price.
About the same price.
About the same price. Like, I know it's expensive just when you see that dollar amount.
Yeah.
But comparatively, not only is it not badly priced, it's borderline cheap.
Yeah.
Technically, for what it is. Like, you're not buying a micro SD card, you're buying a customized tiny M2 SSD.
It's 1 terabyte. Like, I mean, that's a terabyte.
Not. Yeah, I know.
That's mad.
But speaking of terabytes, Black Friday's coming up, so I was looking at buying a 1 terabyte external SSD for this just to store the PS4 games on.
Yeah.
And hopefully the transfer speeds are pretty fast. And that's part of the advantage of the Xbox. So at least you can store all your games on an external. So I'll just take my 4 terabyte Xbox one that I've got now, plug it in, and I can transfer stuff.
Yep.
We'll get to this in a second. But with the PS5 though, I ended back to that story. Ended up doing, after all those database errors, ended up doing a factory reset on it. And with my factory reset, it's funny. There's been talk about the Series X not being an offline-friendly console and the PS5 being an offline-friendly console. You need to be online to reset your PlayStation 5.
Huh.
To wipe it and reset it, you have to be online. Just something to keep in mind for anyone thinking about doing it. But I did a factory reset, unplugged Ethernet. Like, I was just systematically trying to solve all these issues. I've got a funny feeling, like I'm on my 4th reset because after the 2nd reset, I tried restoring my licenses.
Yep.
And somehow restoring my licenses completely screwed up the system's ability to detect what I own. Wow. And all of a sudden, I only owned like 50 games instead of like 100 or so. It was weird. And then
panic stations.
So I did another factory reset, signed in a different way. All my stuff was there. I'm like, oh, I fixed it finally. Then it wouldn't let me download Astro's Playroom. I'm like, what's going on?
What? So
I did a 4th factory reset. Didn't restore my licenses, so all my stuff was there. And then Astro's Playroom came up through my collection, and I downloaded it that way. So I think I'm set. So my first theory was that I was worried PS4 games were causing the database error. This is going to sound really dumb, and I had a similar problem with the 360 back in the day. When I first went to fully reset my PlayStation, I unplugged the power cord. At the time, I didn't think of it. I thought of it just this morning. That power cord came out really easily.
Is it just the 8-pin, like the figure 8?
The normal figure 8. I have a sneaking suspicion, for anyone watching this that's been keeping an eye on my Twitter, I actually have a sneaking suspicion the database errors were caused by my power cable not being in properly. So the power cable must have this crossover point between where it's just enough power to turn the thing on, but not enough to, I don't know, have it run properly.
It's a theory.
Because I really jammed it in after that, and I haven't had any database errors since.
Fingers crossed.
So I know this is gonna sound dumb, because back in the 360 days, I had my launch unit red ring on me, and then didn't have a problem for the next decade. But there was one unit in there where I saw a red ring, and I was like, oh. And then it turns out my HDMI cable wasn't in properly. So a little known fact for some people with the Xbox 360, and I wonder how many red rings were a result of this. If all your cables, and I actually read in the 360 manual that it's a thing, because who the hell reads manuals for consoles anymore?
Nope.
But the 360 manual makes mention of it. It gives you what all the red rings mean and everything. If you don't have every single cable plugged in properly on an old 360, you red ring.
Interesting.
So I wonder how many people returned 360s with red ring simply because the cable wasn't in properly and had a perfectly fine working unit.
We'll never know.
I just wonder, because if I hadn't tried plugging in and unplugging my cables, I would have just returned it as a red ring console.
Yeah.
But it turns out my HDMI cable wasn't in properly. As soon as I plugged it back in, the red ring disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, can we say... Go on, sorry.
Well,
I was just going to mention...
so for anyone having database errors, on the PS5, I know this is going to sound dumb. Try making sure that the power cable is in, like, really, really in.
All the way in, baby.
All the way in, because mine at first came out super easily. So I've got this sneaking suspicion that that's what the problem may have been all this time, because I haven't had any issues since. Aside from my library issue, but I've solved that now. So I think I finally have my PS5 the way I want it. I touched on the DualSense before. Easily Sony's best controller ever made. I'm aware that's a low bar because DualShocks are garbage. DualShock 4 wasn't bad. That was a big improvement on the 3. But the DualSense, Sony has now finally made a controller that competes and is up there with Xbox controllers. Like, it's that good. Like, if I was going to have any complaints aside from the stock standard analog stick placement, that's a choice thing. It's not objectively right or wrong, whatever.
It's wrong.
I know. The triggers are better than the DualShock 4, but still not Xbox triggers.
No.
They have improved them. They are better. They are objectively better than the DualShock 4 triggers, but there's still a bit of tweaking to go there before they're really, really good. Aside from that, feels rock solid. Like it's hefty in a good way. Feels reliable. Feels premium. You know, I was worried about the option, the menu and share buttons and how they made them smaller. I was like, oh no, they were already a pain to press on the DualShock 4. Nah, they're harder, big. They're sort of more solid and they stick out more.
Oh, okay.
And the way they've angled them and placed them, it's actually great. I'm surprised. It's really, really good. So yeah, it is a legitimately good controller. I tried remote play with my PS5, so I tried using my phone to control my PS5 with the touch controls. Even better than on PlayStation 4. Like the remote play, I could hardly detect the lag. It was that good. I didn't try playing a game yet because I want to do that with a controller. But even just using the touch controls on my phone, could hardly detect the lag. Really, really good quality, the remote play. Astro, as I said earlier, is amazing. The PS5 version of Fortnite, you know, a part of me thinks that Unreal Engine 5 demo was horseshit. And the reason for that is I played Fortnite on PS5, and you immediately notice the difference. The image quality is much cleaner than on the Pro. You notice the subtle ray tracing. The lighting's really good. The LODs are much better. But even on the PS5 version with the SSD and everything, you're still seeing pop-in and that weird, like, just stuff I didn't expect to see. Like, I didn't expect to see as much pop-in as I did. Draw distance is way better. Everything's improved. But I was very surprised to see as much pop-in as I did.
Well, I think there's going to be a stark difference between games that are just updated to take advantage of feature sets versus built with that hardware in mind. And you know, that's going to be the difference we're going to see play out over this gen, right? Is that you know, Microsoft have still got to take all of the PC spectrum into account when they build their games. They've got to take in their smaller budget friendly console, which it's got the same architecture, but there's compromises there. It's going to be interesting to see how this kind of stuff bears out, but we're not going to see next gen titles for like 2 years.
Till probably next year or later.
Something like that.
Other thing.
Oh, go on, I'll let you go first.
One other thing, because that way we get all the PS5 talk out of the way. The UI. We'll talk about the UI. Because I know I got a comment about it on Twitter. So it's funny. I can't win, right? So, you know, I love the Xbox UI. Absolutely bemoan the fact that it's 1080p. And by the way, it's still 1080p. Remember when everyone was telling me, oh, it's going to get updated to 4K? And I was like, no, it's not. And everyone was like, yeah, it is. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not.
Yeah,
it's still 1080p. Thank you very much. So the PS5 UI is this mix of frustration and I don't know the other word for it, but it's 4K, super, super clean, so sharp and clean that it cuts your eyeballs. Like it visually, it's beautiful. It's really, really nice to look at. But as a UI, a functioning UI that you want to do stuff in, it's horrible. Like it's not good. It's such a step back from the PlayStation 4. Like they had the PS4 UI in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
They had their version of the 360 guide that would pop up when you held down the button. They had folders. They had all these cool things. Like, they had it in a good spot. And now they've just basically started all over again. And I'm just like,
yeah,
come on. Like, why? It's just, I don't understand. Like, why are gamers the way they are? It's so frustrating the way gamers have to have everything new. I thought that in 2020 we were at a point where smartphones had conditioned us, Apple and Google had conditioned us to accept that our OS will now evolve as time goes on, rather than having a brand new OS with every new device.
Yeah.
Like,
there's a couple of things to pick on there. I think we touched on this when we spoke about UI on our last episode during Resolution Gate. But I think you've seen it with the press reactions, right? The press reactions to Series X in general are, this is a really, really well designed, gorgeous console, but it lacks a lot of new. And you know what? I can't disagree with that. But I went into this going, there's all my stuff. I've bought a new GPU, right, and it's really cool. I've conditioned that because that's how my PC works, right? And that's fine. That's right. But I think we don't realise how, considering how much money is generated by gaming, how niche and small the media around it is, really, in the grand scheme of things, how small and close-knit, and how everyone kind of knows each other. You know, I work in my day job in a very niche industry, and it's very similar. Like, everybody knows someone from somewhere, and in some roundabout way it all loops back into each other. And I think this industry is very much like that, and I think we've seen that bear out in reviews where people have, oh, it's so lovely, this wonderful fresh new UI. But I said this at the time, if you chuck out every good feature of your old UI for the sake of looking new,
I know, it's what I don't understand.
And I think someone posted a really great clearly a UI designer, I think, where it was like the parents looking at the what's the thing you have for babies, the mobile
carousel, the mobile thing.
Carousel.
Yeah.
So like, mobile, look how cute it is. It's got all the animals, but from the baby's point of view, the user experience point of view, he's seeing all the animals' assholes spinning around above him. Like, what the hell is this? And I think that's really key. I think this is just, regardless of how well or how great Microsoft will do or won't do, it's an uphill battle for them regardless, because I think there's a tremendous amount of nostalgia in the media. And I know I'm using the word nostalgia, not bias, right? Because there's far too much, and both. I don't
even think it's nostalgia. I think
people
the biggest
think
thing wrong
of
with
that
the game
old way
industry,
of doing it. You know, like, oh, it's new. It's that nostalgia of like, oh, it's a new console. It feels new. It must be new. It's got all these new things.
Yeah, but how are we not out? Like, you all know that I don't like PC gaming. Yet I love that Microsoft is basically blending PC gaming with console gaming. It's the best thing about it. Like, yep. I don't know. I feel like the worst thing about the gaming industry are gamers themselves.
I don't disagree. We're all terrible people.
I just, how are we still stuck in the 90s where everything has to be new and, I want this, I want that. It's like, I don't understand. Haven't we hit a point with games now where they're so high quality across the board? Like, there are games now, and I reckon I said this on one of our very first episodes, there are games now that are seen as mediocre, where had they come out 20 years ago, they would have been considered all-time classic games.
Yeah.
I think the standard has raised that high that I just think, surely, again, I feel like I thought smartphones and even iPads, tablets, computers would have now conditioned us to say, no, I want my stuff to carry forward. I want my user experience to be similar because that's what I'm used to. Evolve it. Like, if you look at an iPhone in 2007 and look at an iPhone in 2020, they're completely different, but at the same time, they're also the same.
They're an evolution.
Like, the core UI is the same. It just evolved over 13 years. I like that Microsoft's doing that now.
Yeah.
So if you look at the current Xbox Dash that you have in the background, and by the way, before this podcast is over, I'd like you to switch over to Ripple because that's the one I want. I want Ripple.
I'd love to be able to do that, but I believe, unless I've had an update that I've not realised has been downloaded overnight, they're still in the insider ring. You've only got waves at the moment.
Oh, really?
I think so. I mean, I can check whilst you...
No, Ripple's there. Ripple's there. Go, check. People want to see them.
People want to see.
The people want to see. Ripple, they said Ripple's there. Ripple has to be there.
General personalization.
Yeah.
Theme and motion. No, it's not that. It's my color and background. Dynamic background. Oh, no, that's it. There's no list. Yeah, there's no list to pick from.
Oh, so that's disappointing. I wanted to see Ripple. Ripple looked great. It reminded me of the 360.
Yeah, with the big circle and it comes off.
Yeah, the concentric circles. That's the one I want.
It's exactly. As soon as I read, did you read the Windows Central article on it?
Yeah,
I read it. I was like, where is it? But
I was like, oh, I want that so bad. The ripples look great.
Yeah, I tell you what else I love on the dash, and I appreciate for people watching on cam, you can't really see a great angle. I love that I can take off everything I don't care about. Like, I literally have the game pass on the store.
That's been there since this updated. Though.
I know, but I think it's a really that's it. On my kid's console downstairs, I've removed everything. Unless he knows what he's looking for. I've still got
pins.
He can't do anything.
Yeah. You know what would be nice?
A kid's mode.
I was thinking about it the other day. You know how you have the pins, right? Yeah. It'd be nice if you could change the artwork on those pins, as in that big giant pin icon. It's just this huge giant square with a pin. And it's like, how nice would it be to be able to change that? Like, because I've got pins for Game Pass and Gold games, Xbox One games, 360 games, OG games. How cool would it be to have the pin be the original Xbox logo, the 360 logo, Xbox One logo? Like, I'd love to be able to do that.
I'd love a ton more customization in general.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I mean, you can see on the dashboard here, you've got my games and apps, and it's telling me what my friends are doing. It's telling me that I've got some perks I can collect through Game Pass Ultimate, and then there's an ad.
And then an ad.
Like,
but that's always been there.
It's always been there for ages. It's always been there, and Sony do it slightly differently. They put things in your library that you don't actually own.
Yeah, like apparently I own Sackboy, and I'm like, oh, cool. Have I got Sackboy? Went to download it, and it's like, buy it for 110 Australian dollars. I'm like, no, thank you.
Oh, well, when I think of it, random tangent alert. The other game I forgot to mention that I played through out of sheer curiosity because it was £6.50 and it was worth a go, was Bright Memory, which is, for those that aren't aware, is not Bright Memory Infinite, which you saw at the early showcase in May. Mm-hmm. It is the prequel, I guess, or the first version.
It's almost like a demo, but not.
It came out on Steam, so it's been out on PC for a while. It's very short, so hence why the price. It does have a full 1000 gamer score. You can complete it in about an hour, and it's definitely batshit mental.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
As soon as I heard that it was like an hour long, I'm like, perfect game.
It's.
I love short games.
It's definitely quirky, and I think there's some jank, but there's also some really neat ideas in there, especially when it comes to first-person combat. Like, because you've got guns, and when we were talking about the triggers, because obviously the Elite Pad you can shorten that trigger travel, which I absolutely love. Oh, I'm pressing buttons randomly. And this has a really effective pistol, and it's like fire, and it has a massive shotgun that can fire as fast as you can pull the trigger. And I was just like, I loved it. It was really fun to play, but it also has this sword mechanic, so you can be in the middle of a fight, and you can bosh these people up in there and slice them and dice them. It was just fun to play.
Cool. It's $12 Australian.
Worth $12. It's worth a punt. Go for it.
I'm like, I have to buy this. Like, why wouldn't I? It's $12. Like,
it's quite pretty at times as well. Like, you can still see some jank.
It is made by one guy.
But it's made by one guy. And
that's the thing. Like, when a game is made by one person, you can't
knock it in the same way. You
can't judge it. It's not that you should knock it. Like, there are games made by one person that are genuinely bad games. Like, and that's fine. You know, the first game
you can't knock it for
basic shite.
some graphical oddities here and there, or some shortcuts taken if the gameplay's good.
Yeah, but like again, you're talking about one guy, and yet there are games made by small teams that aren't as good as some of these games made by one guy. Like remember Dust and Elysian Tale?
Yep. Wow, that was a great game.
That was basically one guy, similar to Thomas, where it was Thomas doing the bulk of the work with an audio guy helping him on the audio.
Yep.
That's how Dust was. His name, I think, was Noogie. Was his like gamer name or whatever? He was on Gaff back in the day and Twitter and stuff. Dust and Elysian Tale was an amazing game. Made by one guy.
Speaking of one-man developers, the XboxEra account got tagged in a tweet today about a game called now it's fallen out of my brain. It's called, I'm looking at it right now, Song of Iron. Now I somehow had missed a meeting. This is an idea Xbox game. Go watch the trailer. It's like
I think I've seen
you might have seen it. It's like Limbo stylized 2D, but super detailed animations like Viking combat game.
Yes. They showed it on one of their sizzle reels.
They did, and I don't know why it completely evaporated my memory. And I tagged it, and I was like, "What is this? And when can I play it?"
That's what happens with those sizzle reels. A lot of the games, as amazing as a lot of them look, they just kind of get forgotten about.
Yeah,
because they're part of a, bang, 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 bang. 12 games in 30 seconds type of thing, and you kind of just forget about them.
Yeah,
that's the issue.
Yep. But
it looks good.
It's coming out in 2021, so that's immediately gone on my my radar.
Yeah. It looks really, really good.
It looks really nice. I'm excited. So I know we touched on it very quickly. Vaping and the Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
So and I think
come on, seriously, did anyone actually believe those smoking videos were real? Like,
of course, some people.
It was the first thing I said was they're fake, right?
Well, as soon as I saw it, I was like, "That's vape smoke."
That I wouldn't know, obviously, but for me, there was signs. So the very, very first video that popped up on Reddit, I'm like, "That's fake," because the Xbox A was off, and B, it was out in the middle of the floor. So it's like he had set it up. It's like, well, hold on. Why is your Series X out in the middle of the floor, dude? Like, why isn't it up in the entertainment center? I'm like, what's going on? Then the second video showed up, and it was like billowing
it's
smoke.
ridiculous.
I'm like, man, come on. Like, you can't be. And I think to myself, already you've given each other away. Because if it was the same problem, why does one of you have this light little amount of smoke, and then the other dude, it's like billowing? Like, you're muted, by the way. It's like absolutely billowing smoke. I'm like, and Microsoft jumped out on the front foot straight away and we're like, you know what? We're going to investigate this. And I reckon as soon as Microsoft said that, those guys shit themselves, because Microsoft would reach out and say, send your unit. And these guys are then going to be like, no, we're not going to send our units.
Yeah, it speaks to your point when you were talking about, you were tweeting out your dashboard issues, and I've seen reactions on forums. There's so much more wrong nowadays. Everything's breaking. It's obviously rushed. I'm like, no, it's probably got the same failure rate as any console launch.
As any other console.
The difference is it's 2020 and everyone's got the internet and Twitter and YouTube and social media.
Could you imagine if social media was a thing in 2000 when the PlayStation 2 came out? Like, I worked at EB at the time, back in 2000. And the volume of PlayStation 2s that were coming back was unbelievable. Like, I actually ended up learning how to fix them.
Wow.
So many were coming back. Like, I ended up going to another retailer. Someone brought back a PS2. Oh, the PS2 disc drive is bugging. One of the many problems with the PlayStation 2. I ended up fixing it for them right there and then. Wow. That's how good I got at it, because of how many PS2s were coming back. But no one knew, because social media wasn't a thing back then.
You couldn't talk about it unless it was in a paper or on a big news.
That's right. So,
channel.
And Sony sure as hell didn't acknowledge it. Like, they were coming back with dead PSUs. They were coming back with disk drives getting jammed. They were coming back with all sorts of problems, PlayStation 2s, like all sorts of problems. But imagine if that happened now on the PS2 level. Like 360 was a bit different. Social media was just
2007 was when Twitter was invented.
06 wasn't it? Or Facebook was 06. Maybe Facebook was 06. But social media was literally in its infancy. Like it was really only starting. And again, we talked about R-Rod literally just before. Like I do wonder how many of those, like Microsoft acknowledged that, that's fine. But I do wonder how many of those R-Rods where some dude just didn't have the cable in properly. It goes, oh, R-Rod, better take it back. Yeah. And that was it.
So I managed to make it through the entire 360 gen without a single red ring of death.
Only launch day. Only my launch unit, and it's because it was in a poorly ventilated little cramped corner. Swapped it over the next day and did not have another problem through about 10 or 12 360s that I owned over the course of that generation. Didn't have another issue. My launch day PS2 had a disc scratching problem. It scratched the crap out of my Tekken disc. Then, again, didn't have a problem. Owned about 4 or 5 PS2s over that generation. Didn't have an issue. My launch PS3, I felt it was starting to die. You know how you can just get that sense when a console is dying?
Struggling.
And I was devastated I had to sell it because that was the one that could play PS2 games. That was the full backwards compatible
full
model.
BC model, yeah.
I was gutted when I sold that. Absolutely gutted. Didn't have a problem. PS4s were fine. Like, you know, the PS4 Pro, for example, is widely known as a loud console.
Yeah.
Mine actually wasn't that bad. I was one of the lucky ones where, the fans would kick up every now and again. But on the whole, like as a Wii U and Dreamcast owner, the PS4 Pro wasn't that bad for me. Like anyone who's owned a Wii U or a Dreamcast will know what a loud console sounds like. Like the Dreamcast and the Wii U especially when a disc starts spinning, like they are on a loud level where you could, if you have, like I've got a double-story house, I could probably hear my Wii U from up to down.
Wow.
Like the Wii U is on another level of loud. I think, again, it's one of those things where gamers are so accustomed to a certain level of quality now that if your console's not completely and utterly dead silent, it's loud.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I've heard people posting videos now of their PS5s, the disc editions. Oh, is this meant to be making this noise? And you see the video, and it's like...
It sounds like a disc spinning.
It's audible, but like, you know, these things, they're machines with a lot of moving parts. Like, they're gonna make a little bit of noise. Like, you can't expect it.
There's a lot of expectance in this industry.
Yeah, it is. It's weird. Like, and again, maybe it's because we're a bit older and we owned consoles that were like loud, like genuinely loud.
My old PC before this one earlier this year. Like, it used to be a nightmare to record these podcasts because you could hear that thing going in the background. It was just rough. This thing is silent. It's got like 6 fans on it, giant monster fans. But yeah, it is what it is. You know, I think I'm very glad that next gen is here.
It's great.
I'm trying
It'll
to
be
think.
better for me December 7th.
Yeah, you can get next gen then as well. 2 next gen launches. I mean, I know we've got an absolute ton of community questions to tackle. Yeah, I think.
I know.
We might have to cherry
by the
pick some
way,
of these.
You know what? I didn't put this in the rundown, but technically there's a Rumourmill.
Well,
sort of. Yeah, sort of. Look, so remember, was it last episode or the episode before? I said how I know something about Elden Ring.
Yeah, it was the last episode. There's lots of people that are
chomping it's funny. The From Twitter account posted something a little while back saying, you know, we hope you look forward to seeing it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. So I quote tweeted that tweet saying, at the Game Awards, right?
Yeah.
That's what I got told. I got told Elden Ring is supposed to be at the Game Awards. I'm saying supposed to. So I got told about this quite a while back. And I said to my source, I said, look, is it 100% this time? Like, is it 100% that Elden Ring's going to be at the Game Awards? And they're like, look, I can't tell you 100%, but it is supposed to be at the Game Awards.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't want to say anything. I can't. After what I copped last time.
To be clear, you told me this nugget of information, like, I think it must have been about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And
yeah,
you're like, but I'm not going to say it. I was like, it's fine.
I know, I'm not going to say anything. I'm too scared with Elden Ring now. So, and that's why I'm using the word supposed. So the phrase "supposed to be."
Well,
I've been told that Elden Ring is supposed to be shown at the Game Awards.
Phil Spencer did an interview and he said he's played a bunch of it and it's super interesting. So,
and that's what kind of prompted me. That's why I'm like, there's a lot of Elden Ring talk all of a sudden now. So I'm like, you know what? Before Schreier or Keeley or one of them jumps ahead of me, I'm going to say that Elden Ring's supposed to be at the Game Awards. But I'm going to stick to supposed to be because I still haven't had it 100% confirmed. I'm just trying to get out ahead of it. It's supposed to be at the Game Awards. So for those of you that have been, hanging for Elden Ring and Elden Ring news, hopefully you'll see it there.
I hopefully that's also killed about 6 of the community questions asking about Elden Ring at this point. So we can just go, we've answered it.
Yeah. So, again, please, after last time, don't take it as 100% confirmation. I did get told it's going to be there, but I was like, look, unless you can promise me 100% it's going to be there, I'd rather not say anything.
Yeah.
Because From fans get really upset.
Really intense.
Like they and rude. Like they get rude as well. Like
a lot of them just type, oh,
Elden Ring. I still don't know what that means.
It was in the trailer, I think. I had to ask that question. I was like, what are you on about? Some real hardcore fans you got out there from Software. Something
I realised we didn't really talk about. Or 2 things we didn't really talk about. We still got time.
We've got plenty of time.
So, Xbox has had Xbox All Access for a while.
Yep.
And in each country they've partnered up with a different retailer or telecommunications company to sell you an Xbox on a monthly plan or subscription. We call it plan here with mobile phones.
Yep.
So Vodafone Australia has partnered up with Sony and they're doing All Access. It's obviously not called All Access. I don't even think they gave it a branding. See, Microsoft loves their brandings of everything.
They do.
I don't think they've given it a branding, but you can, for those of you who haven't been able to get a PlayStation 5 in Australia, if you know someone with Vodafone or if you're with Vodafone, the catch is you need to have 2 active services, which I find bizarre.
That's a lot of money, a PlayStation 5. Got to subsidise it somehow.
So my brother was lucky because my parents are both with Voda, so he just added the PlayStation 5 to their account, and he's just going to give them the money every month. So he's getting his PlayStation 5 in a few weeks. But yeah, so they're doing the All Access thing,
cool.
where you can get a PlayStation 5 on a plan, which is good because they've got tons of stock. Because A, no one knows about it, and B, not a lot of people have 2 Vodafone accounts.
Yeah.
So
options
PlayStation
are good.
5s, PlayStation 5s are impossible to get, but not if you do it through Vodafone. They've got tons of stock of both the digital and the disc edition. That's for Aussies that happen to be watching. Cool. The rest of you, bad luck.
Suck it up.
We also had the Ubisoft incident, which was looking scary for a while there.
It was a bit odd.
Oh, look, I know. I'm sort of with you. When I first saw the photos they were showing, I'm like, if it's a hostage situation, why is everyone outside? I'm like, I go, are we sure this isn't a fire drill? Like, because at work, we have fire drills where it's just a practice drill. They set the alarm off.
Same.
Everyone goes out in an orderly fashion, goes and meets outside in specific spots, gets their name ticked off, and da-da-da-da. I'm like, to me, the photos looked kind of like a fire drill.
Yeah, like an evacuation plan.
Like, hostage situation, hostage. I'm like, but why is everyone outside if it's hostage situation? Turns out some jerk-off swatted them.
Yep.
So it was actually SWAT, I assume, going in and taking everyone out and organising them.
Mad.
I'm assuming. It was just... That's a weird target. Like, that's a weird...
Well, they've been in the news a lot because of all the abuse perpetrated by a lot of higher ups within Ubisoft that a lot of victims have come forward. Maybe someone was, being all vigilante justice on them here. Either way, though, we've seen...
It's good that everyone's okay, at least.
It's good that everyone's okay, and we've seen what happens when this kind of swatting nonsense goes wrong. People die.
I know, and
right?
that's the thing.
That scares me, right? And I think this is the weird thing, when we started this channel, like, it was very much a case of there are people in this team that do not want to be a forward, camera-facing person. Like, I'm old enough to not really care, but that is a significant reason as to why, because there's some crazy people out there.
Yeah, there's just too many psychos, particularly in gaming. There's just too many psychos out there.
Weird. Like, strange world we live in. But yes, very glad everyone's okay.
Yeah, and it was disappointing to see a lot of jokes being made while it was going on as well on Twitter and stuff, when it was still apparently a hostage situation. I'm just like,
back end.
Come on.
Yeah, it's
don't be like that. Like, I don't know.
Human beings.
Like I said, the worst thing about gaming is gamers. It's the worst. It's the worst part about it.
Do you know? Completely anecdotal and not really related to next gen, but more related to just gaming in general. Is got a really cool message off of one of my good friends. So like, I've got a little group of people that we nickname ourselves OMG. It was the name of the group, Online Multiplayer Gaming, back on Bungie.net back in the Halo 2 days. And we usually, there's about 20, 25 of us, plus everyone's girlfriends, wives, children. We usually meet up once or twice, sometimes more a year. Usually there's one big meet up like paintball or canal boating or something. COVID obviously has put a damper on this plan, so one of the guys dropped a big WhatsApp group team chat out and said, we're having a virtual LAN party. Tell your wives you're taking some time out. We're going to book your Friday off. We're going to be drinking beer. We're going to be playing video games. It's your excuse. Sorry, you've got children. You've got them for the day. We're playing video games all day. We're going to form a bunch of lobbies, do some Halo customs on December 4th, 5th and 6th as our getaway from the monotony of life. And I've got 2 kids. And my wife works on Saturdays. Now, in the UK, we've gone back into lockdown. And her business has been closed again. It's meant to be for 4 weeks.
It's going to be longer than that.
I think it's going to be longer than that because they've announced the furlough scheme is going to carry over until March 2021. And if she's off work, I might actually get away with this one and be able to play some video games for an extended period of time with no parental responsibility, and I am psyched at that. If she is working, then obviously I have to duck out during the day, Saturday and stuff, but it's such is life. But yeah, I'm quite looking forward to that weekend. That's a cool idea.
Oh, well, we were supposed to have a LAN night for the launch of the Series X, but I didn't get one, my brother didn't get one.
I don't want to play.
My little brother-in-law didn't get one because he's sort of out of the loop, and he just assumed that he'd be able to walk in on launch day and grab one. I'm like, dude, no. I'm like, no.
No.
Like, I pre-ordered one the day pre-orders went live, and I'm still not getting mine until December 7th.
Did you see? Speaking of launch day and statistics and stuff, did you see the interesting news is that Microsoft sold more Xboxes this launch than any other previous launch. Now, I think Xbox One was at around 155,000 units.
Are you talking UK now?
I can't remember what. I think that might have been US.
Well, I think they just said in general it was their biggest launch ever.
But the interesting statistic that came out of that launch is of all the new consoles sold, 70% have an Xbox Game Pass subscription. Microsoft making bank, man. Oh, no, they're all $1 trials. No, they're not. But,
well, hold on. Didn't you see that thread where there was a dude that was like, he found Phil's loophole? And, hey... Is there anything stopping me just creating a... Like, how can you be bothered? Like, how can someone be bothered just creating an endless line of
gamer tags,
Xbox accounts and gamer tags, and they've got to attach their credit card to be able to do it? And, like, how can you be bothered? Like,
that's cheap ass gamer taking it to the extreme, right?
oh my god, that is just wow. That stuff is next level.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's all of the news.
I think we've covered everything. I mean, we covered the PS5 and the Series X fairly extensively, I want to say.
Yeah, I think so.
We?
Yeah,
I think I can show you guys the PS5 again.
No.
If you want. No.
Nah.
I mean, it's only fair. Most of you don't have a true next gen console. I've got the actual proper next generation console
and
with
the
new
true
games,
next generation pad,
new controller,
new games,
the whole lot. So it seems only fair to allow other Xbox watchers to see what an actual next gen console looks like.
Do you know what? If anyone watching or listening, I think Eurogamer's Ollie Welsh did a really great little editorial piece today about this launch and what's interesting about it. And I'm paraphrasing to the extreme, but it was an enjoyable little read, so I'd recommend it. But he essentially surmised that this go round, both parties have their strategy laid out, have their goals set. Yep. They know what they're doing. No horrific, colossal fuck ups in the PR department, and both are showing a real love and of accessibility in gaming. There's two different approaches here, but both are the right approach. You can't argue that one's wrong. I think is the point he was making. And
it just depends on what you want.
Yeah, and I think that it points more than anything to me that this go round, the people that win out of this, if we can all manage to stop being so entitled and demanding, is us people playing games. Like there's just going to be such a breadth of choice and value and variety. When we can see games like the Falconeer, like Bright Memory Infinite, like Song of Iron, made by one guy or this tiny team, and they've just got a really cool idea, and it's not going to win a million, marketing budget deals or anything like that. It's not going to be pushed by a big publisher, but it's just a cool game. We're going to see a lot of that stuff, and as those tools mature, that kind of creativity and availability of being able to succeed, it just means really good stuff. I'm excited about this gen. It's a good time to be playing video games.
It should be good. I can't wait to actually fully be there.
Yeah. Well, no, mate, you already. I'm waiting. I'm never going to be there. Probably. I'll probably pick up like a PS5 in like 5 years or something.
I was about to say you won't be able to get one for a while.
I won't be able to get one through my front door.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It is. It's really big. So should we go to community questions now?
Yeah, let's do those community questions.
All right.
Oh, but before we do, I want to give a warm and kind shout out, if I can get my mouse to wake up so I can press the damn button, to our wonderful patrons who support us via Patreon. There's around 30 of you wonderful people at the moment.
29 or 30.
But the tier ones, you're all wonderful, but the tier 2s and 3s, you're living the dream for us, and you're making all of this wonderful stuff possible. We're a teeny channel, and we got a review unit for the console because of the coverage we've been able to do because of you guys. So thank you to the Scarecrow121, Torn Raptor, Shadowgasm, Sowing Shade, Blast the Bass, and Somnia82. Much love. Now you could do community questions.
Yes,
you've got to do those patrons right.
We've almost answered. I've almost answered the first two questions, kind of, in a way. The first question, definitely, by Steppen.
Yep.
Hi, I have to appreciate you saying in January that Phil Spencer played the Elden Ring in Japan, since Phil confirmed it himself. Good work. Can you say something about Elden Ring now?
Yes.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Yeah. Well, like I said, it's supposed to be at the Game Awards.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just put myself out there and say it's at the Game Awards, and if it gets chopped off by a certain moderator on Reset,
I look forward.
Person, so be it.
I look forward to reading the WCCF Tech teardown of our podcast in 8 or so hours.
Yeah, so sorry, Doritos Pope, if I ruined your surprise. But yeah. Okay, Torn Raptor. What realistically could we expect from Xbox at the Game Awards next month? new things or maybe just updates. Also, I received my Patreon shirt and it looks awesome. Well done to the designer. I want one of those. I don't even have one of those shirts.
Yeah,
I'd like
really
one of those
cool.
shirts.
I've seen the next shirt. Speaking of which, I think we're going to be making that update to the tier 3 on Patreon soon. The new MVP shirt is arguably just as cool.
Pre-drag did that.
Pre-drag is a legend. And again, if no one's read the Series S review on our site, like you might have watched the video, but go and scroll through the review because Pre-drag worked his nuts off on that review and it looks amazing. He took my words and made them look really professional and it was really cool.
So what could we realistically expect from Xbox? I don't know.
I think, because obviously Elden Ring out of the way, right? Elden Ring is multi-platform anyway, and I think that's just going to be
I think it may have Microsoft's marketing, though.
It does.
I think it may have Microsoft marketing, yeah.
But I have a sneaking suspicion / hope. I think we might see a little teaser.
Initiatives?
For the Initiatives game. I mean, that's just a personal hope / bet. And I say teaser here. I don't think we're going to see some huge gameplay loop. But with this kind of team, they're now ramping up. We've seen it, the job hires, and in order to advertise this, they're in a really competitive area, right? You know, you've seen the developers coming from Naughty Dog and Sony Santa Monica and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but hold on. When staff leave really good developers, doesn't that mean their games are doomed? Like, if you saw the staff that the initiative's been hiring from Santa Monica and Naughty Dog, do Santa Monica and Naughty Dog even exist anymore?
I don't want to.
Like 3/4 of their staff.
I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to buy it because I know you're referring to 343 drama.
And Rare and like every other bloody Xbox team that loses one staff member and all of a sudden 500 fell apart. And mate, if you were to apply that same logic to Sony, then Naughty Dog's like a skeleton crew because bloody Initiative's been taking everyone from there.
Well, this is my point, right? But no one, like, there's rumours out there, but usually when you get to a certain point, you do this little teaser so that you can publicly say, yes, we're working on this. And for people that are job hunting or maybe considering moving, what do I get to go work on? Oh, I get to go work on that. Cool. And then it gains interest. So I think we're going to see something like that. Not a in-game demo or a 10 minutes thing. We're going to see a teaser trailer to announce what they're actually working on. You'll get some hints. Yeah. But I think it's going to be more of a recruitment piece.
I'm really interested to see how they announce that game because based on what I've heard, I'm trying to figure out how you announce this, like how you show it off. I'm hearing really interesting things about this game. Like, it's not at all what anyone is expecting. That's how much I know.
Yeah.
It's
you know, I think the phrase
we all just thought it was just a straight up perfect dark third person da-da-da. I don't think it is. Like, I think third person, the camera's perspective, yes, it's going to be third person. But in terms of what the game is, I don't think it's what anyone is legitimately expecting.
It's going to be interesting.
Both in setting, both in universe, both in format, I want to say. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah,
but when it's revealed,
I know what you mean.
When it's revealed, that will become clearer. But yeah, it's.
I'm going to be honest. There's a couple of words, and I'm not going to say which ones that really. I'm nervous about how it will be received because you bring up a great point. How do you show this off?
Yeah.
I know we've spent an earlier point in this episode talking about how people react to stuff. I'm nervous for them.
I just thought of a TV show just right this second, a certain UK TV show on Netflix that I could compare to what I've heard about this game.
And do you know what? I think I know exactly what TV show you are thinking about.
Yeah. I'm starting to think that's... Yeah, I wonder. Again, just based on what I've heard about it.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know. I mean, that TV show never got advertising because it's how do you advertise it?
It's a tricky
one.
Like
when people ask me to describe it, I don't know how to describe it. When they say describe this show, I'm like, I don't know how. It's hard.
Yeah.
But I love the show. It's an amazing show, but I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah. I mean, I could describe it, but yeah. Anyway,
sorry about being so cryptic, everyone.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm intrigued. But I think that's what we'll see. It will be not like Hellblade 2, which was more of a the universe.
Halo update?
No.
No? Okay. I thought maybe something about the multiplayer or something.
I don't think. I could be wrong, but I don't think we're going to see a big, full-fledged Halo 3 style multiplayer beta. I just don't. Okay. Now, I know that they've said there'll always be a beta, so I'll be interested to see what happens on that front. But I think the next time we see Halo Infinite will be in a very definitive, told you we've got this kind of way. It will resoundingly push back on some of the criticism that they received. That's my thought, but I don't think. I think TGA is too soon because it's like end of November, isn't it? TGAs or early December?
Usually early December, late November. Yeah,
I think it's too soon.
It'd be nice to either get a Fable tease update or even Hellblade 2. We saw Hellblade 2 last Game Awards. It'd be nice to see something this Game Awards. It's been a full year.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Who knows?
Okay. So we have a couple more questions. I don't want to use his real name, but I think he's Notian on the forums.
Yeah.
Hey, gents, a couple of questions, and man, this is a long-ass question. Number one, I have to start with an acquisition question to keep my thread happy. Do you all expect any further acquisition announcements prior to the finalization of the Bethesda deal? I imagine that may be the case, but statements made by Phil lately, all the rumors surrounding Xbox acquisitions lately seem to imply otherwise. I mean, that's the thing. We don't know when the Bethesda deal is going to be finalized. It could
early
be a
2021. While. Yeah, I think as late as March 2021.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see another big acquisition announced by Microsoft until E3 next year.
Really?
Yep. I fully expect them to be in the works, but I don't think we'll get a big announcement. We might, but don't get me wrong, but I have a feeling, and I think rightly or wrongly, and some people hate it, and certainly, if you're championing for the consolidation of our industry, I get your concerns, but I do think Microsoft have either dug themselves a hole or built a certain expectation into their fan base with these now by announcing them at events. Yeah. Now, the Bethesda one was the only one from memory recently that they didn't announce while on stage.
Yeah.
Or at a show, right? I think we had...
But they don't need to. That's the thing. And it was still a huge announcement.
Exactly. But it was the day that pre-orders opened. So it was a very tactical announcement. It was a statement to get attention. Oh, by the way, pre-orders open. Skyrim's exclusive now. That I understand. So I think big acquisitions, I fully believe there are one or two in the works. I don't think anything... I know people have been banging the drum about Sega. I don't see it. Sorry.
I still have no idea what's going on there.
Yeah, but
It's like Sega are putting out some bait to sort of get someone interested to...
I don't know.
Hey, we're struggling.
But
closing up the arcade business.
I fully believe there's more in the works, but I think Microsoft are probably going to wait. I think they're going to wait until either... and don't get me wrong, I say E3 because that's the next big on-stage event, but they could easily do it at an Inside Xbox. They could do just another press release dump. It depends how adventurous they're feeling.
I think we'll get an announcement before E3. I think we will.
Be interesting.
Only because I got told they've basically acquired at least one. So if they have acquired or are very close to acquiring someone at the moment, then you wouldn't think they're going to sit on an announcement for 6 months. You'd think they announce it. And if they have acquired someone and no one knows about it, that would also suggest it's obviously not a public company. It's a private one.
Yeah.
So,
that changes your list somewhat. If you're out there, Nottingham, rocking up who's going to get bought.
So, question number 2. I've seen a few people on the forum disappointed with the performance of some games, so I wanted to get your take. I've heard from numerous sources that the XDK was a major departure and wasn't ready for prime time, if you will, due to COVID, etc. I've seen some bits of this tech, elements of AMD and MS's implementations at the supercomputer level, so I'm ecstatic to see it in a console, and I'm not worried about current state because we'll be seeing the full brunt of the system's capabilities within a year or two. Just wanted to get your take. Many of us have also been through various console launches and know that it takes time for devs to wrangle new tech. Well, I mean, Microsoft intentionally waited to have the full suite of RDNA 2 at their disposal. Which also means the dev kit is going to be late.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be very mature.
And it bears out in the rumours we heard from Schreier saying, oh, Microsoft are behind. No, they weren't behind. They were waiting. They knew what their targets were, but they were waiting for that final silicon so they could do what they wanted to do.
And we also have heard that the PS5 was supposed to be ready for 2019. So naturally, their dev kit's going to be ready well before Microsoft.
And their tools are way more mature because of that.
That's right. And they kept it very similar to the PlayStation 4 as well.
It bears out in the games we're seeing.
That's right, really which is why we've seen this situation where you see the phrases, the PlayStation 5 is punching above its weight while the Xbox is punching below. That's basically why. One console has a really mature development environment, dev kit, whatever. The other doesn't. I think as time goes on, that's when you're then going to start to see
a
those
real
differences.
Significant? What the hell have I been smoking?
Yeah, significant or magnificent. Yeah. That's where you're going to start to see the differences bear out, I think, as devs get a wrangle on the Xbox dev kit with more time at their disposal.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, even the first-party Xbox games don't have ray tracing.
Yeah.
Because I doubt they've had the dev kit much longer than anyone else. Like, it came very, very late. But yeah, and I mean, throw in lockdowns and everyone working from home and all sorts of stuff, and yeah, this is the result of it.
I'm impressed that they managed to launch in 40 countries worldwide.
I find that bizarre because they didn't even launch in that many countries with Xbox One.
Yep.
So I find it weird that they managed. Yeah, and they did what Sony are doing now, which is staggering the release. Like Europe doesn't have the PS5 yet, so that was curious. Another 2013 reversal there on that one. Yeah,
I think Microsoft really, despite COVID, they had a plan and they pulled it off. I've got to admit, it was a really smooth launch. My consoles turned up. I was happy. Good times.
Not that they had much stock.
Well, yeah, but I think, and again, this bears out, we're seeing this narrative, punching above weight, Xbox punching below, or where's the games, blah, blah, blah. But Phil's been, I think, pretty candid in saying, we're all going to sell everything out. Like, everyone that wants one of these things is going to buy it as soon as they can. So, I'm not worried about Halo
that
not
Microsoft appears to have made so many less. And again, I'm only basing that anecdotally on Australia. So, my retailer said that they got 300 PlayStation 5s and 40 Xboxes.
Yeah, see,
now, you extrapolate that to however many 300 stores they've got, plus EB was in a similar boat here. And then it's like, so did you guys just send Australia none? Or did you make a lot less?
Funnily enough,
a bit of both.
Someone in the comments on YouTube commented about this last episode and said that their store had the reverse, like tons of Series X's and S's and like 4 PS5s. So, and they were in Australia from memory. So maybe it's just anecdotal. We're not going to have sales figures. We know Microsoft historically does not report on them. But you can be in the knowledge that, they sold out. Everything's going to be sold out until they make more. And then that will sell out and then so on and so forth. But it's a good start.
There's been an interesting absence of palette photos this next-gen launch, hasn't there?
Phil tweeted one out.
No, I mean from trolls online. That used to walk into stores and take photos of like piles of consoles sitting there. No one's buying them.
Yeah.
Although there has been plenty of people stealing PS5s and taking photos of the piles that they've got and trying to scalp them.
Jerks.
Can you guys not buy those consoles? Let them let those people go bankrupt.
Yeah.
With all the debt from those PlayStation 5s. Don't buy them.
Yeah. Screw 'em.
What a jerk off. Like, I've seen 2 already of these guys where they have literally a room double the size of this one that I'm in, and they've got like a whole wall of like PlayStation 5s. How they got them, I don't know. Is it bots online that like sit there and buy them? Like, I
Yeah,
don't know
you
how
can buy scalping tools that literally effectively outbid anyone, or press the buttons. It's all rubbish. I hate it. It's awful.
And they've got like literally like 30 or 40 PlayStation 5s. And like, here you go, guys, $900 for the digital and $1,100 for the disc. I'm like, you assholes, man. Like, seriously,
it's not cool.
Don't buy those consoles off people. Don't buy them. Let them bankrupt themselves with them.
Good advice.
It's just idiots. Third question. He's got 3. I have my own opinion, but do you think that due to the ubiquity of Xbox's exclusive feature set with PC development going forward, and then in brackets DirectX 12U, Ultimate ML hardware, unified dev with DX, and the XDK and RDNA2 hardware features, that will see a greater adoption rate for developers overall? Obviously, the Series X is already more powerful than PS5 or Series S, but the major efficiency benefits and added capabilities would be pretty incredible to see, and if utilized, would blow away people's expectations of what a $500 piece of kit can do. Anyway, love all the work you do. Like, there's a lot here. Sorry, not Ian, but there's a lot here, and man, we're still on like second and third question. I think long-term Microsoft made a good move really unifying that whole PC console development environment.
Yep.
But again, it's one of those things where, like the dev kit, as time goes on, that's when you're going to start to see those benefits shine through in the games.
Yeah, it's a very shallow harvest at first, but it's a long-term play. I think things like AMD's version of DLSS are going to make a big difference.
Especially to the S.
Yeah, especially to the S.
Especially to the S. I don't think the X is going to benefit a huge amount from DLSS. I mean, it can benefit, like for a dev that...
The S is where it's going to be really good.
Yeah, the S is the one that's going to... Like, people that really, really don't care about 4K, if their solution to DLSS can be implemented into the Series S, then yeah. Like, I mean, we've seen... The funny thing is, people say, oh, the S isn't capable of 4K. Ori runs at 4K 60 on the S.
Yeah. Depends on the game.
So, and that's what I mean. So... a lot of people would argue Microsoft made a mistake advertising it as a 1440 console, but one could then flip that script and say, well, traditional Microsoft would advertise it as 4K 60 capable because a game can technically output 4K 60 on the S.
Yeah. In
as
fact,
already does.
The S upscales quite nicely to everything to 4K. What's the Aaron Greenberg tweet? You do realise you're going to see everything as 4K output, right?
Yeah. Did you realise that everything will be output at 1080p? Something like that. I never remember that.
But yeah, it's going to definitely pay off, I think. I'm excited to see.
Long term as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you'll see, like, Microsoft's more talented dev teams will really, like... I expect that in a few years' time, what Playground will do, Rare... Like, I still think Everwild is going to be, like, one of the best-looking games of the gen, even if it comes out early in the gen.
Yeah.
Because regardless of all the crybabies that say cartoony graphics, that cel-shaded look continues to stand the test of time.
Yeah.
Like, as much as I hate Wind Waker, people still refer to Wind Waker as one of the best-looking games, and because of that cel-shaded look, like, it's a look that stands test of time.
Yeah, definitely
it holds
agreed.
Up. And Everwild is going to look amazing. Okay, Mort, the last of the Patreon questions. Man, we've still got like Twitter and Discord and the forum.
We can cherry pick.
Mort, now that the launch of the consoles is out of the way, when do you think will we hear more about what's to come on the games front for Xbox? This kind of goes back to the
TGAs.
Question. Yeah. We will see anything new this year?
Yes.
He's saying, when he says this year, does he mean 2020 or 2021?
Will we see new stuff announced this year? And I would say yes, 2020. We'll see stuff.
Yeah, we will see
anything
this year. On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy do you think Phil is with the launch? Thanks for the great podcast and awesome forums. I think Phil's happy with the launch.
Yep.
He's probably not happy with one aspect of it, which is that Halo's not there.
Yeah, I think he said emotionally it would have been a good moment to pull off. And it would have been back to those old Halo days.
I still suspect that behind closed doors, Phil would not be very happy with that situation. But call it a hunch if you want. But I have a sneaky suspicion that Phil would not be very happy that Halo is missing. Like, especially when you look at the fact that so much has been delayed. When you look at
marketing deals,
what Sony ultimately launched with.
Yeah.
Like, when all is said and done, what Sony ultimately launched with, Halo would have had probably an even bigger impact than initially thought because of the launches being so light.
Yeah.
Like, I think he'd be internally, like, spewing that Halo had to get delayed.
I still think it's the absolute right decision to do, though.
No, it is, and that's why they made it. I'm just saying that he
probably wishes he didn't have to have made that decision.
Yeah, I've got a funny feeling he'd be spewing it had to happen. But, yeah. Anyway, maybe the Game Awards will see some new stuff get announced. Who knows? I want to know where the hell what's that game? That Aussie game with the guitar, the music game?
The Artful Escape?
Yes, Artful Escape. Man, I haven't heard anything about that game.
It still
looks so good.
I swear
it's not vaporware.
No, I swear it was meant to be coming in December, but maybe it's going to be early 2021 now.
Yeah, it'll be a 2021 game. Maybe we'll see it again at E3 2021.
No.
Okay, we'll go to Twitter or the forums?
Go to Twitter. Let's see what the Twitterverse wants to know. Feel free to cherry pick though.
Will. My friend Will.
Oh, go on.
Hey, number one, what will Xbox's roadmap be for revealing gameplay in new games? Well, we kind of answered that. TGAs look promising, but after a week launch and July showcase, we need to see some progress and hype. We kind of talked about that, Will. Sorry. Ninja Theory's been quiet about Bleeding Edge with no new content. Does it have a future? Probably not.
No.
Is anyone playing it? I know of like one person who plays it on my friends list. One.
Let's be honest. It was already in development. Microsoft could have said, nah, boys and girls, this won't sell. But they wanted to let the development teams make what they want to make, right? They made it. It was competent for what it was, but it's just, I don't know. We did try and reach out to, what's her name? The combat designer. Rani, to see if she wanted to come on the podcast to chat about it. It would have been an interesting conversation, I'm sure. I think it's a neat little title. The hope is that somewhere in the background there's a solid group of people that are playing it, much like how Phantom Dust and things like that were kept alive. But honestly, I don't know if really we're going to see much more on it. It doesn't feel like it's suddenly going to make some massive comeback with some content drop that's going to blow people away.
Even though they won't do it, you know what they should do with Bleeding Edge?
They're not really cool single-player campaign out of those characters. Yeah, the character design's awesome.
Do what Epic did with Fortnite. So Fortnite was what it was when it was announced, a Horde mode, because Horde modes were all the rage. PUBG came along, and Epic were like,
quick,
hey guys,
eat their lunch.
I reckon we can implement that pretty quick in Fortnite. And they pivoted and added that mode. I wonder if Ninja Theory could add a mode which is like a 4-player co-op brawler.
Yeah.
Even if it was a horde mode style thing, where waves of enemies come at you and the 4 of you have to beat the crap out of them.
Could they?
I reckon it could be fun.
Yep. And the character design and the art and the game itself look gorgeous. Like it's
really polished. I wonder if they could just add a mode. A horde style co-op brawler mode.
Be interesting to see, wouldn't
it? Yeah. Okay. Omar Habib LA. Who do you guys think about the new leaked Xbox Game Studios publishing game that says it's open world? I think I was talking about this. Who do you guys think it's by? What are some independent studios Xbox can acquire that have the potential to be the next Naughty Dog, Sucker Punch, etc.? So first part of the question, yeah, I think there was someone advertised the job.
Yeah, they
and
worked
they mentioned
on
an unannounced AAA open world title.
Yep, from Microsoft Global Publishing. They did work on the narrative elements from Flight Simulator. You might think, Flight Simulator? I don't remember any narrative elements. There's a few bits and pieces in there from your training instructor that sound well written.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is. We did say
no idea.
The last podcast that what are Global Publishing up to? I think when we did our studio tour video, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. But that's the one team where we really haven't seen a lot out of them since when? What, Recore? No, well, Flight Sim was the last game they published. And before that, it must have been Recore, I think.
Well, there's Don't Nod. There's Don't Nod and...
Tell Me Why.
Tell Me Why. And then there's that As Dusk Falls.
So As Dusk Falls, I really like the look of that, by the way. And we've connected with the development team, so we'll try and get one of them on as that game sort of gets a little bit closer. But yeah, they're going to be up to something. You know, there's things cooking.
You'd think. As far as independent studios, I think they already bought the independent studio that's going to be their next Naughty Dog, and that's Ninja Theory.
Yeah.
I've said from day one that Ninja Theory, you give them a budget and you give them the resources that they need, and I reckon personally they could get on that level.
Yeah.
They've kind of done it. Like you know, when Sony published Heavenly Sword, I mean, I played Heavenly Sword on PS3. It's a pretty good game. And even back then, some of the facial capture work and the cutscenes and the way they looked, and that was like I think almost a launch PS3 game.
Title, yeah.
And it looked like they're one of those studios kind of like Obsidian, where if you give them a budget, like they can do some pretty unreal stuff, like South Park Stick of Truth with Obsidian. Like that was a really high... I understand that it's all South Park graphics, but the whole package was like really, really good because they had that Ubisoft money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think they already did, and that's Ninja Theory. That's going to be their Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
I think.
In terms of new studio, like... There are a few. I think there's been many names bandied around. There's two I can think of immediately that should probably be definitely on people's shorts lists. But
Sobo?
I don't... Asobo and another one. But I think this whole Microsoft have to find their Naughty Dog. Let me put it this way. I think Rise, as bizarre a tangent as this is a really solid, in fact, above average. Like I really liked that game. As a launch game especially, it was great. I find it weird that people say, oh, it's shallow gameplay, it's quick time events, blah, blah, blah. When, you know, you could tweak that, and there were certain elements of the fact that it was a botched Kinect original game and other bits and pieces.
Sad to say, that pivoted late.
And it pivoted pretty well, all things considered, but it looked great, right?
Amazing.
And I think the cutscenes they still hold up today. I think the voice acting, the story was pretty cool. I think there is a certain narrative out there that in order to compete, you have to have this focus on daring to tell something challenging or controversial. It has to have this cinematic purpose behind it, where it's trying to be a movie all the time. I don't particularly want to play a movie.
No, neither do I. And Rise actually had a pretty good story too.
It did. I find the whole... And I get what the real question is. When are we going to see some Game of the Years with all the hype surrounding them from Microsoft? They've got a lot of studios now, and more are going to come through. But it will be... I still think...
Game, I reckon that game will come from Obsidian or Bethesda.
Yeah.
That's where that game will come from. When the next time... So Microsoft's last game of the year, I think, was Halo.
Or Ninja Theory.
it'll either be Ninja Theory, Obsidian, or so. Right now, if I had to pick their next potential game of the year, because it's impossible to pick Microsoft's game of the year because their last one was Halo. Their next one will either be like Starfield or Avowed or Hellblade 2. Like they're the most likely candidates
because
for game of the year.
For some reason, game of the year has to be this. Like this is what I don't
like. I know.
I don't get it.
It's not game of the year anymore. It's third-person narrative-driven
movie of the year.
Movie, slow walk and talk game. That's what game of the year is now. Like, yeah, that's. I know there's exceptions, like when Overwatch won.
Or Tetris Effect won a lot of Game of the Year awards in 2018.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong. I'm aware. Same way at the Oscars. Yeah, there's exceptions to the rule, and sometimes an actual good movie wins, Best Picture. But rather than stuff like The English Patient or whatever, like the Oscar bait. Yeah, and that's the problem now. You now have Game Awards bait. Almost.
Yeah, it feels like that's exactly the point I'm trying to get to. Thank you for so succinctly putting that. It feels like that's what people want, and I'm like, do you want it because it's good to play, or do you want it because you want to crow about it on Twitter? Like,
yeah, I know. That's the thing. It's become this weird thing now.
Games to play that I think are genuinely great than ever before, and yet somehow it's like there's not enough. It doesn't compute for me. Sorry, maybe I'm old. I just think it's a really weird way of looking at things. Like
it's like saying there's no launch games, but then the Falconeer is just sitting there.
Yeah,
it's like go play it. It's a really good game if you want to launch.
Oh, but it's coming out on the Xbox One, so it can't be a launch game.
And it's like, what I've come to realize is that the sentiment isn't that Xbox doesn't have any games. Xbox doesn't have any Sony games.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's not that there's no games. Tetris Effect is a borderline 10 out of 10 game. That is technically an exclusive to Xbox at launch. Yeah, you can say that it came out in 2018, but Connected didn't. And the multiplayer mode's quite good.
Yeah.
And that's only on Xbox. But, it's Tetris. So that doesn't count because there's no narrative and third-person slow walk and talk. And, I don't understand why games are... I'm disappointed that games have become that now, kind of like the movies. So, a Marvel movie can't win Best Picture, apparently, because that's not how it works. Marvel movies can't win it, and Pixar movies can't win it. As amazing as some Pixar movies are, they can't win Best Picture. You have to be a certain kind of movie now. That's where that term Oscar bait comes from, because you have to be a certain kind of movie to win Best Picture, outside of rare exceptions. Same with games now. You now have to be a certain kind of game to win Game of the Year at the Game Awards, outside of some exceptions. So, and I find that disappointing, given how different games are to movies. Like, a game is a game is a game. So if a game is a great game, then it should be eligible for Game of the Year.
Yep, but it isn't.
And
it'll be eligible for Best Xbox Game of the Year, or Best Multiplayer Game of the Year.
Game, or Best Multiplayer, or Best Indie, or Best whatever. And I get it, because in a way I understand it. Because if you think about it, if Game of the Year just came down to any great game, you could have like 20 nominees. So I kind of understand the need to break it up. I get it. Like, I understand the logic behind it. Don't get me wrong. It's just disappointing, like, because of the way the industry is. And like I said before, gamers are horrible. So because it's only one type of game that can realistically win Game of the Year, it just fans those arguments, those flames worse. Like, it just makes it so much worse that you can have a fantastic game like the Falconeer, like Tetris Effect, like the Touryst, like whatever, but those games don't count because they're not in that specific category.
That bugs me.
It is disappointing.
Yeah.
I get why it is that way, like I just explained, but it doesn't make it less disappointing, especially when you have double standards. Like, Rise is... The irony of this whole situation is that Microsoft had the first Sony game of the generation in Rise. They did.
Yeah.
Microsoft had the first third-person, over-the-shoulder, slow walk and talk, narrative-driven action combat game thing. Like, Microsoft were the first this generation to do it. But because it was caught up in all the launch hate...
Yep.
And
because it had quick-time events.
But they weren't quick-time events.
I know they weren't. It was about rhythm.
And everyone's like, oh, the enemy variety. Like, I adore God of War 2018. It was my game of the year, and it's been my favourite PlayStation franchise since 2005, when the first one came out. And a little bit of that is Greek bias, because I love my Greek mythology, so I instantly adored God of War. But God of War 2018 suffers from a lot of the similar problems that Rise did, and yet didn't get roasted for them. I don't know. That sort of stuff annoys me. I think that's my biggest pet peeve with fanboys.
Yeah.
That double standard. It's that double standard that bothers me more than anything. You know, I hate internal batteries, and I hate that my Elite 2 has internal batteries, and I'll never not hate it. I don't just suddenly love internal batteries because Microsoft made a controller with them. That's the difference. Like, I just hate that double standard. I hate it. Rise is a great game, and it stands toe-to-toe with a lot of what Sony has made. I don't care what anyone says.
That was just quite a tangent and a rant from us.
Yeah, there. I know, but
I enjoyed it, though. I enjoyed it. Hope we answered your question.
I don't even remember what the question was. It was about independent studios. You brought up Rise, and that started.
I'm sorry. This is my fault.
That was your fault. Kevin, Vinny UK. What's the host opinions of the potential lifespan of the Series S or X? Are you expecting just another mid-generation bump in spec, or a more Apple-like evolving tech model in which this gen never ends? It's an interesting question.
I actually think...
I'm all...
Go on, you go.
Oh, I was going to say I'm actually almost inclined to think they're going to go the Apple route, but I don't know.
I think that this is going to be something that will just be built on now. You know, the dash might change and evolve, but all of the games now are going to stay with us, and this will be the new Microsoft. I don't think we're going to get...
Yeah, but he's talking about the hardware, though.
Yeah, but I was getting to that. So I don't think we're going to get a mid-gen refresh, but I think when AMD take that next leap forward, I think we'll see a shorter cadence in terms of next-gen launching. Whether it will be with the beat of whatever the next, evolution is for this range, whether it's RDNA 3 is the next beat, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get. I don't think Microsoft will. I think Microsoft now, as of now, will abandon the traditional generation cycle now. I reckon just every 2 to 3 years. Yep. So we have the Series X. Yep. Here is the Xbox X2 Mark II. Here is the Xbox X Mark III. Here is the Series S2. Here's the XS, which is the slimmer X series.
Yeah.
Here is the... I think that's just how they'll do it now. It'll probably be every 3 years or so.
Yeah, because with the way the development kit is going to work, it's all about profiles. So, it's going to have the same architecture. So a developer can say, right, I know how fast my SSD is. I know how many cores and threads I've got on my CPU, blah, blah, blah. And I know what each GPU of each specific console is capable of. I can design my game around those, and then I can, just like on PC, right, that's going to be ultra, that's going to be high, that's going to be... I think that's the environment they're pushing towards, and the market potential for that is
a
huge.
blending of the smartphone market and the almost. PC market. Like this weird console version of a conglomeration of those two.
Yeah. But I think that's where the narrative... They've got this uphill battle, and we've seen it straight away at launch, despite the fact that from a launch perspective, I've got more games to play than ever before.
But there's no games.
But there's no, where does that narrative come from? Oh, because it's not new.
Yeah, no.
Well,
it's not new.
There's lots of new, but there's nothing new from first party. Okay. Oh, the Dash isn't new. the controller's still kind of the same. Yeah, but why do I care about that? Why do I need some forced arbitrary? I don't know. I'm very different to the average
it goes back to
gamer.
what we were talking about before.
Does.
Like, I don't get why we're still stuck in the 90s with this idea of resetting all the time, and I just assumed that smartphones taught us otherwise.
Yeah,
I like what I think is Microsoft's approach. Like I said, it's this weird blending of smartphone model and the PC model.
Yeah,
I like it I much prefer it that way.
Yeah,
like, you know, I've still got my iPhone 8 Plus, and I can still use it just fine. Yeah, not as fast as the new iPhones, and eventually Apple will turn around and go, iOS 15 doesn't support the 8 Plus. Time to upgrade.
Yeah.
And I envision a situation where Microsoft says, okay, we no longer support the Xbox base model Series S. You need to get the S2 or the S3 or the whatever it is. And, you know, our operating system now no longer gets updated on the S and the X. You now have to be on the same, like Apple does the same thing. At some point, iOS doesn't get updated on, say, a 6S.
Yeah,
at some point.
It's interesting as well because, like, even people on PC that I know have been like, "Oh, well, why would you buy this? Like, why? Like, there's no purpose for it." And I was like, "Why did you buy that new GPU last month?"
That's right. Why'd you buy the new GPU? Aren't you just going to play all your existing games on that new PC?
And then they were mocking all of the jokey vaping things. Like, I was like, "Didn't your motherboard fry?" Like,
yeah.
It's just an interesting narrative that always seems to exist. So I think they're just always going to have this uphill battle. They've managed to finally get people to not get cross too much about the fact that PC games are getting Xbox. You know, PC gamers are getting Xbox games on day one, same as us, same as the consoles. They've overcome that now. Like, no one in the Xbox camp goes, they all get it.
They don't care anymore.
Fanboys on the other side still go, oh, you haven't got any true exclusives, but you know. Give it a year, guys. You're going to be feeling a slight pinch there.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I hope, unlike the famous 1080 they did on my birthday in 2013, I hope Microsoft sticks to their guns with what they're doing here.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
I hope they stick to their guns this time around because what they're doing, I believe, is better for the industry long term. I think. Like I don't like the idea that the next Nintendo console, not the Switch Pro, whatever is after the Switch, I don't like that potentially that new console will just I've got to start all over again.
Yeah.
I'm still bitter about my Wii U games. I'm still bitter that all Nintendo is doing is porting all those Wii U games to the Switch
and selling them to you again.
And selling them to me again. Like I don't like it.
No.
I don't like it.
Nope.
It's I don't know. Like I just thought that we were in a different time now, where we were accustomed to the idea that our stuff goes forward.
We'll get there.
I thought Apple and Google had done a good enough job conditioning us to expect that. I thought.
We'll get there.
And it's weird that I'm the old guy and I think that way. I'm old. How is it possible that young people don't think that way? You've grown up. All you know is that your OS stays the same and da-da-da-da-da. Like, I don't know. I just find that bizarre. Gaming is so weird like that.
It is.
Vinny's got another part of his question that we kind of talked about. The podcast question that almost made the cut. On the scale of 0 to 1080p dashboard, how upset is Shpeshal Ed about the PS5 crop database issue? Man. I'm glad I think I finally solved it. And if I am right, and it's just the power cord not being plugged in, you're welcome, Sony, for me solving what is a really common issue with the PS5. So everyone that has the database issue, I know this is weird, but check your power cable. I know that's bizarre, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it could be that simple, which is a good thing. If I'm right, and it's just the power cable not being in properly, man, that's
take that as a win.
That it's such a simple fix.
Yep.
I hope I am right. For the sake of all the people out there having the database issue, I hope I'm right.
Fingers crossed.
But if anyone who is watching this has a PS5 and has the database issue, check the power cable and please tag me on Twitter or wherever and say, hey, it didn't fix it for me, or it did fix it for me? I'd be very interested to know. Malik Labs, what type of studios do you think Xbox is really wanting? Would like if you guys got more specific, maybe drop some names. I believe Xbox still needs more third-person heavy story-driven games.
I think we've ranted on this enough.
We've
Sorry,
kind
Malik.
of talked about all of this. Sorry, Malik. We've kind of talked about this. Akami with 3 eyes at the end.
Akami.
What's happening with GameCore? Have you heard from any sources as to how the API is progressing? Is it complete? Are devs actually using it? It's a good question. I haven't heard anything. Sorry.
No idea on that front.
I assume it's starting life.
Yeah.
I assume. And I reckon the Bethesda acquisition has changed things from like a game stack perspective because they now own an engine.
They own a lot of extra tech.
They own some new streaming tech. So I don't know how that's going to affect things, to be honest with you. It could delay things. I don't know. 2, will Xbox drop something big for Video Game Awards? Don't know.
Rewind. We've answered it.
Yeah, go back a bit. Yeah, we kind of answered it. Next, number 3, next gameplay drop. Hopefully at the Game Awards. We haven't heard anything. If you're asking if we've heard anything, I haven't. Sorry.
No.
Next question. Hood News Media. Is Halo a holiday or a summer release? Also, what changes do you expect for this game visually or otherwise? This question only came while we've been recording this podcast.
Wow. Under the
wire.
wire.
Is Halo a holiday or summer release? Look, we think Halo will release early-ish next year. I still believe it should just be the fall title for next year. I say fall. I know that's an Americanism, but it's what people are used to. I still think they should give it... You've already taken that massive step of delaying it. Just go the year and polish it to a high sheen. Get the bugs out. Like, the last thing Microsoft needs now is for Halo to then launch in, say, March, and there's issues with the servers or there's bugs. Mate, just take the full year, polish it up to the level of Astrobot, and just make sure it's like 100% for launch. You've already delayed it now.
Yeah,
You've already done it.
I don't disagree with the sentiment. I think any additional time is going to be time well spent for that team. I think it's going to be a summer release, though. It
probably will.
I think they're going to take advantage. I'll put it this way. They've done a lot of interesting things that Microsoft would typically never do, like announcing the Series X at the Game Awards and showing it off for the first time. Some of their marketing drops have been very different and very modern compared to old school Microsoft, who are very regimented and you must do this by this time. And so I think if I were sitting in the room and making that decision, and if the game was ready, and that's obviously key, I would be saying everyone seems to avoid releasing games in the summer. And we've seen it work. God of War was a summer release, wasn't it? I'm sure it was.
God of War was April or March.
Yeah, sorry.
Spring, Last of Us was summer. Last of Us was summer back in 2013. Like, Sony have learned now. Sony avoid the fall now mostly.
I think Microsoft need to learn that lesson, right? All of your big boys come out in the fall.
Well, they
Assassin's Creeds. I think they might take that chance this time and say, you know what, Halo's...
Feb. Ori was March. Sea of Thieves was April.
Yeah, I think May. I don't know why. I think May. I mean, and that seems like such a long way away, but I'd be glad if it's sooner, as long as it's done. I'd be happy if it's later, as long as it's perfect.
Yeah. I as long as and that's why I said polish it to a high sheen. Like, if they turn around and announce, look, it's not coming out till November 2021, but come November 2021, it's like flawless, no problems, super polished, looks great, then mate, worth the wait.
Yeah. I want to be able to... Halo's really special to me, as it is to a lot of their fans, because of the memories and the stories and the friends I have made playing that game on Xbox. And I really want to get to that point where everyone I know and everyone I love is like, should we play some Halo? It's like, yeah. And there's always a team, and there's already a big team rolling, or a squad ready to do like some hardcore 4v4. My dubs partner's like, yeah, let's get into it. I want those times back. I hope it works. We'll see.
Yeah. Last question, I think, on Twitter. We really have spoken about this many times. Aman M05. What studios Xbox should acquire next to complete their quest? I mean,
Sony.
We've covered that. We've talked on many episodes before who we think they should go for. Obvious ones like a Sobo, and then you've got your dream scenarios and your bigger names like your CDPRs and all that sort of stuff. Sega, Capcom. Realistically, you're looking at your Asobos as targets. You're looking at your IOIs. You're looking at your stuff like that. Blue Bar. They're the kind of things.
Privately owned.
Yeah. We don't think there's going to be too many
Bethesda style
like
acquisitions,
publishers or anything left.
Yeah.
We could be wrong, but yeah, who knows? Man, I can't believe all of that was just Twitter and Patreon. There's still the forum, and there's still the forum. There's not. I don't think there's a lot on the forum.
We really need to cherry pick better. Pick 5 total.
I know, but I thought it was only the two of us, and
just the two of us.
Okay. All right. So, sadistic magician on the forum. If anything's going to skip, it'll be the Discord. Sorry, guys. Let me just say I have no real issue with 343. I still enjoy their take on Halo, and the infinite gameplay looked fun as hell. It did. However, do you think other Halo first-person games will be released this gen by another developer or developers? Nope. If so, who?
No.
I would like to see id or Arcane have a crack, especially using ID Tech 7. Great show and content you all provide. Keep it up. Yeah, no.
I don't think 343 exists to make Halo.
That's right.
I think you might see a smaller team in 343. They might go, hey, we've got this idea. It's not a mainline Halo title, but we want to try and do this. You might see that. And I have a sneaking suspicion we will, because of the way this Halo has been described. I think this Halo release is going to be the one that sticks around longer than any other, for a multitude of reasons. But will it allow that team, to maybe go off and develop something different and interesting, but within that Halo universe? Maybe. And
even on the odd, very weird exception that somehow some other developer made a mainline Halo, you know how it would be done? How I think it would be done? I reckon they'd go to Bungie and say, hey guys, you're pretty big now, and you're only really making one thing. Want to have another crack at Halo with one of your teams?
I think that would go down very poorly for morale.
No, I know. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that will happen or I think it would happen. I'm saying on some other dimension, in some other parallel dimension where somehow someone else other than 343 makes a Halo game, I believe it would be Microsoft going to Bungie to do it.
I do feel
not one of their other first-party studios.
Bungie's new IP Matter. I reckon Microsoft have probably secured a deal with them on that one.
Probably. That's probably what all that Bungie talk was, and all that Bungie rumors. That's probably all what it was about Matter.
I don't like talking about that.
Yeah. Because apparently we confirmed that they've been bought.
No, we didn't.
Anyway. Roman Bob. The Xbox Wire post about the first day of new consoles mentioned that over 3,500 games, I'm assuming they're referring to unique game titles, were played on launch day. Are you personally spending more time on new games that have just released in the last few weeks, or on non-favourite games from previous years that you want to see how much better they look before? I feel like I want to go revisit older titles. Yeah, we're the same.
Bit of both.
I have said many times, I am all about the current gen boost. That is what I am all about. Outside of Astrobot, everything I'm playing is old. And I'm okay with that, because I am old. So that is fine.
Embracing your 40s with aplomb.
I love the PC style approach of buy new hardware that makes stuff look better.
Yeah.
I am okay with that because it's all the benefits of PC gaming without the massive pile of garbage and cost that comes with PC gaming.
Yeah, well, one of my mates.
Best of both.
Shout out to King Bartlett. He's actually been converted away from his PC completely. He's like, why would I spend another $2,000 on a machine?
Yeah.
This little box is beating.
Yep.
And it was only 450 quid. Like I'm back. And we were chatting on Xbox Live Chat, and he was like, the last time I sent you a message here was in 2018. I was like, I know. Yeah. I would love to see Microsoft bring Discord to Xbox. I want that to happen.
I've got a funny feeling we might see something there.
I think so.
I reckon there's going to be something going on there. Blue Hawk 357. Thank you for answering one of my questions last time. Every third-party game tested, Devil May Cry, Watch Dogs Legion, have parity between consoles. Will this be a common theme for a few years or for the whole generation? No.
It won't be common. Not you
after this. You were always going to see it at launch. You were always going to see it.
Yeah, everything
because
is
of what
really
we talked
hard
about earlier.
Especially during a pandemic. Does it run?
Yeah.
Okay, ship it.
Yeah. You're because of all that dev kit stuff and the dev tools stuff we were talking about earlier, that's why you're seeing them be so close right now. I personally don't think that's going to hold for the generation. No. I think as time goes on, that disparity will grow. I think. Could be wrong, but that's what I reckon. 4K UI, we don't have it. Looks better than expected being upscaled. Thoughts? I don't know. I don't have the new consoles, but I expect it'll still be noticeably not 4K. Personally.
Looks fine. I've got 2020 vision, and it does upscale really, really well. Like, everything's sharp. I'm looking for...
The irony is that it would have upscaled better if they'd left it as squares instead of rounding everything.
Yes, it would.
It actually would have ended up upscaling even better had they left it all as squares, like sharp-ended squares.
Yeah, but it looks nice though. It looks fine.
I will never not be disappointed about it. Game Awards is soon. Who will have the better showcase? Which first-party games are you expecting? Yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah,
a lot. Talked about that a lot. We've got to get through this. Liam S. Hi Ed, could you tell us about the state of the GDK? Yeah, I've heard people saying that it's not as good as it could be at the moment. Yeah, okay, so we've said it's behind. We know it's behind. You know, it is what it is. Microsoft have said that the new consoles have a 70% attach rate for Game Pass. Do you think this was higher or lower than Microsoft expected?
Higher.
Higher or about what they were expecting or hoping for?
Hoping's probably a better word.
Yeah.
70% attach rate is nuts.
You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say 70. I think 70% is low. I think it's crazy that anyone could have an Xbox and not have Game Pass.
Yeah.
Personally. I think it's crazy.
Well, you say that, but there's a lot of people out there, like I've spoken to directly that I know, who aren't gamers in our sense of the word, but that have an Xbox or have one for their kids. And, you know, they've suddenly seen that, you know, I do this show and I run the... And they're like, hey, like, I saw you mention this Game Pass thing. What is it? And it's like, it's a no-brainer is what it is. You know, as much as it's fun to shill at times, like, if you have... Especially if you have kids, especially if you're on a budget, you should have that. Do you buy more than 2 Microsoft games a year? Yes. Go and get this, because it saves you money. All right, and it gives your kids an endless number of games to play without you having to worry about it. Like, just go and do it. So I think that there is an element of that, and I think that is just... And I think that's why you saw so many people, even in the July showcase, suddenly realising that we weren't necessarily seeing a pitch for the Xbox beyond Game Pass. This is what Microsoft want you to get.
Yeah.
It's how they succeed. It's how they permeate the market. It's how they grow.
Well, because it's not exclusive to a console.
Exactly. It's a big deal for them.
It's on streaming. It's on PC. It's on console.
This is their attempt to make the gaming version of Moneymaker of Office 365. Or Azure.
Xbox is Game Pass now. It's not a console anymore.
It's Game Pass.
And deep down, we've all known that's been coming for a while.
Yep.
The signs were there quite a while ago. Again, get out of the 90s, man. Things have changed. Seriously. Still more. I'm really surprised they haven't gotten a support studio like Sumo Digital. Seems like an obvious investment with so many first-party studios now. Yeah, Sumo would be a good one, actually.
Microsoft have even get them. Sorry, you're still talking about support studios.
Oh, well, this is still Liam S's question. He's saying that he's surprised they haven't got Sumo, and I'm like, we were talking about studios before, and I'm like, yeah, I'm surprised I didn't think of Sumo. They made Crackdown, Sonic Racing Transform. They're another one of those studios like a Sobo that can do a lot of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Microsoft have a tendency to use a lot of, and there was some stuff that there was talked about earlier this year about how they hold on to contractors and how it affected 343 in particular, because the contractors could only, by law, this isn't a Microsoft thing or a video game thing, this is a labour law thing, that they can only work for a certain amount of period, and if they approach that tenure, they have to be offered a full-time position or they have to be let go, and that causes churn, and you're rotating heads in and out of job roles where they might be a really good fit. Microsoft have a tendency to do that a lot. I could speak quite lengthily about this, but I won't. I think it's something that, one of the reasons that they're acquiring so many studios is to get out of that spiral to a degree.
And use all their studios as support studios for others.
Cross technology talk, and you've already seen some of that happening with the Gears team trying this, that, and the other, and 343 team doing things with the Forza team and so on. So, yeah, it's just. I think it's an old-fashioned. It's a very American way of doing things, especially in the US. That market, contingent labour market in the US is very mature. It's very well developed. There's a lot of service providers out there that will utilise that contingent labour pool, but the tenure rules will have that effect, especially when a project goes on for 3 or 4 years. It can cause problems. So, yeah, I think a support studio is definitely a good idea, but I think that their whole goal is to build their own over time, and they'll get there.
Well, there's still more to this. You can even get them working on some E-rated games between providing support for the other studios. Do you think a support studio is something that Microsoft wants to set up or acquire? Edit, just to add, Sumo Digital has most recently done the Sackboy game, so they can certainly make E-rated. Man, there's something I want to say about that Sackboy game that I'm kind of annoyed about. And I'm worried that if I say it, I might be wrong and end up revealing something else I was told. It's weird. Yeah, look. What are we, November? Yep. I was told about this back in December or January last year. I have a feeling that Sackboy game might be what I was told about Little Big Planet a while back. I think I was told about this Sackboy game a long, long time ago and was told not to say anything about it yet. And then all of a sudden a Sackboy game was revealed and my source was like, ooh, that might be what I told you about Little Big Planet a while back ago. But I don't want to say any more than that because I'm worried that I might be saying something that potentially I'm still not meant to say. Edit 2, someone found a LinkedIn profile of someone at Turn 10 who is the Forza Tech and Fable Technology share lead. So it looks like Fable is running on Forza Tech. I think it must have started in Unreal, then they changed it. Because, I heard Fable was Unreal as well.
I heard
they have said
that the Fable team initially, and I don't want to start negative rumours here. All I heard was from a developer in the UK was that they'd had some issues with where their engine was landing. I'm trying to phrase that in the right way. Not that they are still having issues, but they initially had some design challenges, I think was probably the best way to paraphrase that. But I don't think it's a concern anymore, but that seems to probably fit in with what we're kind of seeing now. But yeah. Okay,
so that's what the rest of that question was about Forza Tech, what we think and all that sort of stuff. Sorry, guys, but man, this has been going for like 2.5 hours. I'm staggered. I didn't think it was going to be that long.
It's nearly 2 a.m.
At Bigsy, at what point when you were using your Series X, this question's not for me, did you stop and tell yourself, I was supposed to be playing Halo Infinite? I've been enjoying the content being produced and keep up the good work. I can't answer that question, mate, because I don't have a Series X.
I've never once stopped and thought I should have been playing that at that point.
Yeah, I haven't really, to be honest, I haven't really felt the absence either.
It'll be done when it's done.
Yeah, I guess so. Discord questions, there's not that many really.
Any good ones? Just pick one good one. Just one interesting one.
Proven just said, now that you have both consoles, I don't. How do you feel about the size and build quality? We've covered all that. I actually went into great detail on that about the PS5 Proven, so yeah, you already know that's answered.
One extra thing I'll add is I think the Series S is going to surprise people. I know Phil Spencer said that he thinks it's going to sell the most. I think it's the most attractive out of all of them. A lot of people seem to be not sold on the white and black. When you see it and you realise how small it is and how kind of cute it is, I think it will sell to people on that alone. You know, they won't talk about how many Ps does it produce and how much 4Ks has it got. It will just be, God, that's a really cute little console. I think that counts for a lot more than people think it does.
Yeah, there's a whole mess of stuff in the Discord. Friggin' Tangent started and people started talking about stuff.
Then they've made it far too difficult for us.
I am going to take one question from Discord from Cartoon Soldier. He's asked a few, and we've covered 2 of the 3 questions. Okay. One about Gaming Outlook, one about Elden Ring.
Okay.
Now, the third one, I like this question, and I'd like to talk about it, and we'll finish on it. If Phil put you in charge of remaking achievements, what would you do? Which I think is the next part of the Xbox Experience MS should which I think is the next part of the Xbox Experience MS should overhaul.
Yeah,
he's got a question mark here. Okay, so yes, I like this question. I have been vocal about the fact that I now prefer trophies to achievements. I care more about achievements because I've got so many more and I'm a bit more invested in the Xbox ecosystem. But I actually like trophies more now. Like I really like the way Sony has done that. If I was redoing achievements, personally, I would add, like the Platinum Trophy, some sort of completion achievement to indicate that the base game is done. I like that Platinum. I love that because as someone who has that touch of OCD, the Platinum Trophy helps with that. So yes, I'm not 100% in Spider-Man, but I have the Platinum. So I don't have that niggle in the back of my brain that says, you're not 100% in Spider-Man, you better go do the DLC achievements or trophies.
Yeah, I think...
I like that.
I think that's got some accuracy to it. I think, though, that they're never going to do that because of backwards compatibility and because of just how it works. I think... I agree with you, right? There's a ton of games where I'm like, I'm never going to go get all 1,000 for this. I've got like 200, and that's it. That's all I'm going to ever bother.
But they don't have to They don't have to add an extra achievement. But they could still put a completion marker even on 360 games.
Yeah, it would be like campaign complete kind of thing.
Yeah, it would be a script that they would run that they'd know the original 1,000 base game achievements. The script runs and says, okay, do they have the original 1,000 gamer score? Okay, they get this little star or a diamond or some kind of marker that indicates completion for the base game. The other thing I would do with achievements, now, I don't know what's going to happen with next-gen games, if the achievements will stay the same in terms of achievement art. I think
it always seems a bit lackluster. Like, achievement art was meant to be this big thing where you'd unlock, like, cool, behind-the-scenes
art. When devs do it, it's good. Like... And I don't know. To me, it's one thing that Microsoft should have stayed a bit old school and mandated it. And said, man, have some achievement art. Like you've all got every single bloody development studio has concept art. Package some of it up, man, in 4K and attach it to your achievements. at a bare minimum. Like, I loved Titanfalls, I loved Rise, and I was gutted when I saw that Tetris Effect did not have decent achievement art. I couldn't believe a game that looks like that couldn't come up. At least, like, Thomas Sala was good about it with the Falconeer. It looks like he's taken certain screenshots and all that sort of stuff for his achievement art. So glad they did that. Bitterly disappointed at Ori. Ori did not have... seriously? A game that looks like that and you couldn't do achievement art? Like, Thomas, buddy, come on. Come on. Come on, buddy. Gotta do better than that, buddy. Come on.
Yeah.
I would borderline mandate achievement art if I was in charge of it. I'd add a completion marker.
I think I'd love to see what the community's take on this in general is, like what people, because I gave up caring about achievements a long time ago. I used to get really silly when I hadn't, or you know, like those games that gave you like one gamer score for like a random little thing. Day. And it's like, my numbers can't divide exactly by whatever, and it would just drive me nuts, right? And I'd have to find a game that had like a 3.
I know. Overcooked.
Yes.
Overcooked. The very first achievement in Overcooked is worth 1.
I know.
And you just get it. So you know what I did? I played Overcooked, got that 1, and now my gamer score ends on either a 0 or a 5 all the time. It's good.
Yeah, I hate you. Mine's on 6 right now. Like, ends on a 6. It drives me nuts. It used to. I've stopped caring so much. But I think Cartoon Soldier, what I'd love to see you do, if you listen back to this, plonk a thread, a new thread on the forums discussing the premise, and let's see what the community brainstorms, because there are certain Xbox folks that are a member of that forum. Maybe they'll read it. Maybe we'll get some feedback. Who knows? I'd be very curious.
Yeah, I feel like Microsoft's sort of not shied away from, but their focus has really gone away from achievements, which is a bit disappointing because they pioneered it.
Well, I think they've done what they do a lot is, there's a company out there called TrueAchievements.com. They're going to do all the legwork for us. Sod it.
Yeah, but that's not in your console.
No, I know it's not. But I think that's perhaps some mentality there. They'll focus on what they need to focus on. And arguably, I think there have been bigger fish to fry for Microsoft over the last generation.
Yeah, I know.
Than
but
achievements.
Still, they have teams. Like, I'm glad they did the diamond thing with the rare achievement. So if it's achievement under 10% or 5% or whatever it is, you get that little diamond and the noise and all that sort of stuff. That's cool. And that's a step towards doing something more with it. But yeah, again, I still personally prefer how Sony does it with trophies. Yeah. Having said that, their leveling system is still broken. They supposedly fixed it, and it's still broken. Like, my level was 290 something, and then I got the platinum for Astro today, and it's like 297. I didn't cross the barrier to 300, and they were like, "Oh, platinums are worth more." No, they're not. Your system is still broken. Fix it. Like, seriously. It's still dumb that people with... One of my mates on PlayStation, Shep Commander, who's changed his name now, he's Lego Skeletor now, he's got like 2 or 4 platinums. I have 26 of them, right? But his level is a little bit higher than mine because he's got like 4,000 bronze trophies. And I'm just like, oh my God. What kind of broken system is that where I've got 26 platinums and he has 4, yet his level is higher than mine? Like, the system's still broken if that's the case.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's working correctly.
Like, seriously.
Did we get through them all?
Yeah, pretty much.
Considering it's just the two of us, like a 2.5-hour podcast.
I can't believe how long that's gone for.
Sorry, everyone.
It's lunchtime here. I can't believe how long that's gone for.
It's 2 a.m. My kids wake up in 4 hours.
Yeah.
The wife promised me a lay-in this morning. She better come through for me. I swear to God.
I'm going to go back on my PS5 and make sure it's actually fixed.
Well, if we'd have finished at 1, I probably would have played an hour of Assassin's Creed Valhalla anyway, because I really want to raid the next place. But after all the talk, all the podcasts, the site, everything, we've finally arrived this last week. Next gen is here. This is now the next half a decade or more of video games.
And it looks like it's going to be a good one.
It looks like it's going to be a really good one. I don't think I've ever been more... I feel like I've got my gaming mojo back a little bit. Like, I think certainly the last year I probably read, wrote, and talked about games more than I played a lot of them. And it feels like I'm getting back into really playing a lot more. And I think that can only be a good thing. So, to everyone that has been with us on this run up to the launch, like the last year and a half, thank you. We're now looking forward to this whole new gen. We've got the new website, we've got all the new fun stuff coming, and obviously we've managed to forge some really cool relationships with a lot of publishers over the last year or so. So we're going to be there day and date for a lot of stuff now. So stick around because it's going to be a blast, and we're looking forward to it.
Should be good.
Should be better than good.
Yeah.
So that's about it from us. I think we'll call it there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And
please like and subscribe.
Oh, obviously all of that stuff. If you really love what we
socials.
Do, jump on Patreon, have a little look at what we offer because we're good like that.
If you can spare a coffee a month,
helps us.
And you like what we do,
helps us fund all this stuff because it costs a fair bit. But yeah, other than that, we'll let you guys go. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Ciao for now.